hurricane-force winds and waves up to 60 feet is already blamed for at least one death along California's central coast. Santa Cruz County Sheriff's Office says the wave trapped a man beneath debris at Sunset State Beach. The high surf's also believed to have pulled another man into the Pacific just a little farther south. To the north, Santa Cruz Parks and Recreation Director Tony Elliott says
the Santa Cruz Wharf was hit as part of the swell event with large waves. We lost, we believe, approximately about 150 feet of the end of the wharf.
The wharf was under renovation after damage from previous storms, and 2 people had to be rescued from the water, while a third swam to safety. None seriously injured. I'm Ben Thomas.
AAA predicts record holiday travel this year, and while most will go by car, some travelers like Haley Hahn are catching a flight.
Now that we're at the airport, I feel like I can relax. It was a little bit of a hassle to get packed and ready, but there's also magic about the holidays that makes it exciting to travel.
AAA expects 119 million Americans travel at least 50 miles from home for the holiday. Would the purchase of U.S. steel by Japan's Nippon Steel pose a national security threat? The government advisory panel has failed to reach a consensus on that question. It leaves a decision to President Biden. He opposes the merger, as does President-elect Trump. This will be a holiday-shortened trading day on Wall Street, with the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ closing early. They'll close at 1 p.m. Eastern. On Wall Street this morning, the Dow futures down 23 points, NASDAQ futures up 24. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Hi, everyone. If you or someone you know were diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma within the past 20 years, listen up, because you could be entitled to significant cash compensation. For years, the weed killer Roundup was used in homes, farms, and gardens, and now studies have proven a direct link between Roundup and this deadly cancer. So if you or someone you know have been diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, call us and find out if you qualify for a cash settlement. 800-842-6060. That's 800-842-6060. Time to file a claim is running out, so don't delay. The call is free, the consultation is free, and you can find out if you qualify for a monetary award. Call 800-842-6060. That's 800-842-6060. 800-842-6060. Call now.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Just Leah here with your first alert forecast. Temperatures today will be in the mid-40s. We have cloud cover overhead and this light drizzle. Mainly south of St. Louis, we'll see that rain, but an additional wave will bring us an opportunity for showers tonight, and some of that rain will continue through early on Christmas Day. Temperatures overnight only falling to the lower 40s. Christmas Day itself expected to reach a high near 46 degrees with cloud cover. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Your heating system isn't getting any younger, and waiting might cost you big. Katie here at Elite Comfort Experts. With new government mandates and 2025 manufacturer price hikes, delaying a replacement means paying more. But here's the good news. You can save now with tax credits, utility rebates, and easy financing. No gimmicks, just guarantees. Don't wait for your old furnace to quit for good. Call Elite Comfort Experts today and replace your system before prices go up. Call Elite at 636-887-0971.
Tim Jones here for Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, the premier chiropractic and sports performance facility in the region. They've helped me recover from day-to-day aches and pains for years. And here's something special, personal training programs. Whether you're an athlete committed to increasing performance, recovering from an injury, or just want to get healthier and lose weight, their personal training programs will help you reach your goals and stay there. Comprehensive Chiropractic in Eureka, online at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com.
Listen anytime.
It happens
anywhere. Everywhere.
Every day continues to bring more news.
With the News Talk STL app. Keep St. Louis's home for conservative talk with you wherever you go. Download the News Talk STL app in the App Store or at newstalkstl.com. Mike Ferguson.
This is the kind of adventure I usually have to force upon us, and here it is, falling into our laps.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
They're buying it.
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm? Get up, St. Louis.
Why don't you call the squad, son?
Mike Ferguson in the morning. on News Talk STL.
Get up, get up. This is your cousin God.
Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL. Susie Moore filling in for Mike today. Merry Christmas Eve, everyone. We were talking before the break. We've got producer Jerome here. I'm sorry, we've got producer Santa here in studio. If you're watching us on the live stream, you can see there's Santa himself, which is really amazing when you think about it because he has a busy night ahead of him.
Oh, yeah, that's what all the Red Bull and Monster is for.
That's why they created those energy drinks. Santa needs it. He's got a big task ahead of him. I am wearing my ugly Christmas sweater, which I forget that I have and I pull out once a year, and it's not even very comfortable. It's kind of itchy and everything like that. I did have to take off my jangly earrings because they weren't working very well with the headphones, but we're making it through our Christmas Eve show, and I am looking forward to talking to you all about all of this stuff. So this is, I don't mean to be morbid, but, we have a former president who has been on hospice care for coming up on 2 years now, President Jimmy Carter, who I'm old enough to remember his presidency. I was very excited for his presidency when I was a little kid. I actually shook his hand once. But he is, did he turn 100? He's 99 or 100 years old. He's quite elderly, not in good health, but he's been on hospice since February of 2023. And I'm going to tell you guys a little bit of inside baseball. In the news coverage business, like Red State, we often will pre-write stories if we know that there's going to be something coming up fairly soon that you want to kind of have a jump on and be ready to publish on pretty quickly if something actually comes to pass. So if you hear that, for instance, a very notable figure may be not doing very well and maybe nearing the end, you might pre-write an obituary.
Mm-hmm.
I pre-wrote an obituary for Jimmy Carter in February of 2023.
Wow.
I have to up the date on it pretty regularly so it doesn't get lost completely. And I'm not asking I'm not trying to hasten anything. I'm just saying we've been like watching and waiting for this because we were kind of told that this was kind of near the end. And bless his heart, he's still with us. But we've got several former presidents who are kind of in the elderly camp now, and that includes Bill Clinton. Now, that is hard for me to wrap my brain around because in my mind, he's still 46-year-old Bill Clinton. He's the guy that, we all remember as president. And, he's 78. He's not ancient, but he's had some health scares and he is hospitalized right now. The good news is that doesn't seem to be anything particularly serious. Apparently he had a fever. Here's what they're saying about him. Clinton, 78, has been admitted to MedStar Georgetown University Hospital for testing and observation after developing a fever. This is from his deputy chief of staff. He's in good spirits and grateful for the care he is receiving. A source close to the 42nd president said the situation is not urgent. The former president will be fine. He developed a fever and wanted to be checked out. He is awake and alert. So it sounds like it's not super serious. That's a good thing. But no one wants to be in the hospital, first of all, ever. But secondly, like right before Christmas. So whatever you think of him and his politics, I'm not even going to go there. But we wish him well. Of course, we wish him a speedy recovery. But he's not he's not the one currently in the White House. The one currently in the White House is 82. And no, I mean, to most objective observers, is not in the greatest of health either. Joe Biden has very much shown the signs of his age, particularly over the past 4 years. And we all know the presidency is a tough job and it ages whoever's in it. Even Barack Obama aged during his 8 years in the presidency, and it was visible. And so, some of that you can attribute to that, but some of it is just that Joe Biden seems to be, he's an old 82, let's put it that way. And just in the past week or two, it's suddenly become okay for even people on the left side of the media equation to say, well, yeah, we kind of knew, which I think is fascinating because 6 months ago, if you brought up the fact that, look at this video, he looks like he's about to fall over. Oh, that's a cheap fake. Oh, no, you can't talk about that. That's all just made up. It's, a vast right-wing conspiracy, that sort of thing. And now everyone's kind of acknowledging what we were all watching for months and months, years. So it's frustrating. It's frustrating to see people who flat out said, "Oh no, he's sharp as a tack. He's great." Say that, "Oh yeah, maybe he's not." Although, I mean, the nice thing is the internet is forever. So you have the old clips and the old articles where they're completely contradicting themselves to kind of show if anyone's questioning that. But he's not done being president yet. There are 27 days left in his presidency. And, for people that are, saying, oh, well, he's not fit to be the president. I can't really argue that. But do we want him to be removed from office at this stage of the game? I'm not so sure about that. I mean, do we really, really want, several weeks of President Kamala? I'm not so sure. But, there might be an argument for that because on his way out the door, President Biden is doing some things that, I haven't agreed with a whole lot of the things that he's done during his presidency, but he's doing some things that people are really up in arms about. One of which is granting all kinds of pardons and clemency. The biggest one being, of course, for his son Hunter. 1st of December, he announces that he's pardoning Hunter, not just for the gun charges and the tax charges that we know about, and he was charged with and tried and or pled guilty to. That was already a done deal. But for anything, for an 11-year period, you can't grant a future pardon. He's not pardoned for anything going forward, but this pardon goes all the way back to the first part of 2014, which has a lot of people scratching their heads and saying, what exactly is it that you think he needs pardoning for? It'll be interesting to look into that to the extent that we can. But of course, that caused a stir. I was one of the people, we talked about it the last time I was here with you, Jerome, that I was not going to be shocked if he issued a pardon to his son. I think it would have been stranger for him not to pardon his son. But then he did this 1,500 pardons and commutations, clemency, about 2 weeks ago. And a number of the people that were pardoned were kind of, pretty shady characters. I mean, it's not situations where there'd been a whole lot of rehabilitation or there was sort of an empathetic version of their story. You had the one judge, and I think it was in Pennsylvania, who'd been basically shipping kids off to this prison for profit.
Kids for cash scandal.
Kids for cash, yeah. And I mean, I think he was 16 years maybe into his sentence, but why is that guy getting out early? So there's a lot of people frustrated with that. And then yesterday morning, we woke up to the news that he had commuted. Now, he didn't pardon. That would have been, I don't even know what we would have done with that. But he had commuted the sentences of 37 of the 40 federal death row inmates. And by that, I mean he had taken the death penalty off the table for 37 out of the 40. Yeah. And I'm gonna preface this with noting I am actually personally opposed to the death penalty. I wasn't always, but as I've kind of evolved in my thinking of things and I've become kind of pro-life, I've embraced the idea of being pro-life across the board. And I think there are lots of issues with the death penalty, how it's administered, having that power in the hands of the government, that sort of thing. But I don't even want to get into that debate because whether you're for or against the death penalty, one thing I think most objective observers could agree on is, okay, if you're saying as a matter of conscience, which is what he is saying, and in the belief that we should stop using the death penalty on the federal level. That's what he said. Why wouldn't you why wouldn't you commute the sentences of all 40? Well, who were the 3 that he didn't commute? Dylan Roof, the guy that shot up the church in South Carolina, Robert Bowers, the Tree of Life synagogue shooter, and Dzhokhar Tsarnaev, the bomber, the Boston bomber. Well, those are very high-profile cases. Those were obviously heinous cases. I mean, that if you're going to make an argument for the death penalty, it seems like that would be the sort of case that it would apply in. But then that completely undercuts the argument that it's, a matter of conscience to not have the death penalty. And it completely undercuts the idea that, maybe you want to do away with it or you're doing it on for faith-based reasons. It just makes it seem like it's political.
Mm-hmm. Oh, absolutely. I mean, there are 2 men that were commuted that were involved in the killing of a family of 4, including their young children.
Right.
It's like, I don't want to get into the whole numbers game or anything like that, but how is that not such an egregious thing?
Mm-hmm.
Who could consciously say that commuting that sort of crime is good in any way?
Right. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, at the federal level, and keep in mind, each state has their own criminal prosecutions and their own death penalty. Some states follow it, some don't, that sort of thing. On the federal level, for someone to be prosecuted for and have the death penalty be, a potential sentence, I mean, that's obviously a very serious, heinous crime. So what does that say to the families and loved ones of survivors or the people who were killed by the 37? Your loss and your loved one's demise wasn't quite as heinous as the people that were killed by Bowers or I mean, it just doesn't make sense.
Well, and the New York Times or New York Post, I should say, released an article where one of the families did speak to them about that, saying basically this is making us re-go through that entire trauma and all the stress of the trial again because we thought we were going to see justice, and to see them given mercy where our loved ones were not, it's just so my heart goes out to them.
Yeah, it's I would say it's unconscionable, but it's kind of classic Joe Biden. He gives these lofty explanations for things, and again, you can question who's actually making these decisions, but he's the one signing off on them. And Senator Tom Cotton raised the issue that, okay, if he's not actually mentally competent, how effective are the things that he's signing off on? Are they legally binding? That's a different issue. But it just really makes you scratch your head and wonder about it. And I don't know. He finds a way to make you question why he does the things that he does. But you know what? That's our president. When we come back, we're going to talk about more of this sort of strange things he's doing on his way out the door here on the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show on News Talk STL.
And all at once depart destination, making cold my heart to fight your war. Stop it right now. I have had enough of this.
Hey, Tim Jones here with a reminder. Winter is the perfect time to obtain an expert evaluation of all your trees, shrubs, your biggest assets for safety, health, or maybe even removal. Hanson's Tree Service, locally owned and operated, not only can consult with you on the exact services you need, but during the winter months, you might even save more money. Keep their emergency number handy in case you need it. Emergency removal anytime over the winter months. Hanson's Tree Service, 636-379-1830. Hanson'sTree.com. That's Hanson'sTree.com.
Winter's coming, and your family's comfort can't wait. Johnson Heating and Cooling, where family protects family. Owners Tracy and Sean Johnson don't just install equipment, they safeguard your home. From new construction to existing homes, we're your trusted experts in furnaces, air conditioners, and heat pumps. Don't risk dangerous gas leaks or unexpected breakdowns. Get your heating system professionally checked now. Call 636-332-4141 or visit johnson-heatingandcooling.com.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-6766. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Epic STL is always on the lookout for highly motivated, goal-oriented, results-driven people to add to our growing, winning team of sales and content professionals. 1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL is a locally owned and operated venture of Epic STL. Apply to be a part of our creative, fun, and rewarding work environment by simply going to the Connect tab on newstalkstl.com and click on Application. Epic STL and News Talk STL are equal opportunity employers.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. These pills work for men and women to improve their sexual performance. And now for the price of 2 or 3 pills, you can get nearly 100. There's no need to pay expensive prices for Viagra or Cialis. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Change your life for the better and have fun. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. 800-631-2030. That's 800-631-2030.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
Sleigh bells ring, are you listening? In the lane, snow is glistening. A beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking in a winter wonderland.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning. Get up. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning. We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL.
Gotta love the Christmas music. Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL. Before the break, we were talking about our current president, Joe Biden. Again, let's keep in mind there's only 27 days left in his administration. Yay.
Yeah, but a lot can happen in a month.
I know, Jerome. Don't say that. Don't say that. I know. I think we're all kind of waiting with bated breath. And I have to say this. I have been through, let's see, how old am I? I'm so old. I have been through, like now if you're going to do the math, I don't know. Let's say 12. No. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe 12 presidential transitions. But I'm like, in terms of the ones that I can remember and was really like dialed in on politics, you've got Bush to Obama, Obama to Trump, Trump to Biden. Let's forget about that one. And now we're going back from Biden to Trump. But I don't remember. I think this is a transition period like no other. And part of it is that you have a returning president in Trump who has lived and learned a lot in the past 8 years and is preparing for his second administration from the Southern White House, Mar-a-Lago, as opposed to from Trump Tower in New York, and is being very proactive in it. And has stepped up and is being, is showing leadership, whether you agree. I mean, there's plenty of people that don't like Donald Trump. I get that. But he is showing leadership. And you see that in the way like the world is reacting to him. Other world leaders are coming to him. Justin Trudeau is hopping on a plane and coming to see him. That sort of thing. People are treating him like a leader. And people have kind of forgotten that Joe Biden is actually still the president.
I saw an article that said that the prices of eggs for Christmas might be going up, and the full context was because of bird flu and stuff like that going on.
Mm-hmm.
And the comments were like, "Oh yeah, all of you Trumpers, this is what you wanted, right?" And it's like, first of all, like Trump's not even president yet, and
right.
this is Christmas is coming up.
Yes.
Like, how do you, So I agree 100%. Though I think it's a very refreshing return to see somebody be a leader, and I truly hope that he follows through on what he's promising.
I hope so too. And I mean, I think the last time when he was coming in for the first time, he was so. I think everyone was surprised by his win, himself included. And I think, he wasn't prepared for it. He didn't know the way Washington, D.C. works. He didn't know all the things that he needed to know. But you can tell he has a much better grasp of it this time around. But Joe Biden is still, signing off on executive orders and vetoing certain bills. And as we talked about in the last segment, granting clemency in sort of strange ways. I got to believe there's going to be some more of those pardons coming in, probably with people's named Biden attached to them. But one of the other things that he's doing is rolling back some of his efforts, endeavors. For instance, the Title IX rule that basically banned state bans or local bans on allowing biological males to use like women's facilities, women's restrooms, participate in women's sports, that sort of thing. They had a year or two ago had implemented this rule under Title IX that was basically saying, look, if someone identifies as female, they need to be allowed to participate in the female athletics and avail themselves of female facilities. Same thing goes in the opposite direction, but it doesn't seem to be as big of an issue for trans men or trans biological females who identify as males. It really seems to be more in the other direction that's causing the uproar. We've had recently the spate at the Capitol with Nancy Mace, kind of shining a light on the issue. Well, they're withdrawing their rule now. So the question is, why? Was is this was the rule not implemented in good faith to begin with? Because even if they believed in it but didn't think that the Trump administration was going to keep it, why wouldn't they just leave it in place?
That's a very good question now that I think about it.
Right. So that the inference that I draw from that is that that isn't something that they necessarily totally believe in. They certainly have gotten blowback, but they've gotten blowback on a lot of their policies and haven't changed them. They've only doubled down on them. Uh, I do think it's maybe a reaction to not just the election itself, but to I think there is a palpable change in the atmosphere, if you will. People kind of pushing back on this notion, like this is going too far. Um, but I mean, it's still a very hot button issue. So I find it interesting that this is a rulemaking thing. That's not a law. It's something that they could have left in place and made Trump be the one to rescind. So I think it's interesting that they're pulling back on it.
So when I think of the actions being taken in the past, since the elections
Mhm,
happen,
mhm.
part of me feels like maybe they are trying to do something to preserve the legacy. Because even going back and listening to how Biden talked about being vice president and all this stuff,
Mhm.
it's very clear how he's going to be perceived after he's out of office is very important to him. But it just seems like they're almost like you're trying to appease so many different people that are all
Yes.
contradictory in their beliefs that you're not really like appeasing anybody.
Right. Right. So you're governing by, basically by popularity polls and what you think is going to get you votes, which obviously doesn't. It's kind of a moot point at this point for Joe Biden, and so I can understand abandoning certain approaches. This is a weird one to me, that they're going the extra mile and rescinding the rule because it would probably be rescinded in a matter of a month or two anyway. So I'm a little puzzled by that one. The other thing that they're caving on is the student loan debt forgiveness.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so I mean, he's over and over again hyped this as, I'm gonna defy the Supreme Court, or I'm gonna find a way around their ruling on this. And, as someone who just got a kid out of college, I mean, I understand the appeal of wanting your massive student loan debt forgiven. I totally do. But if you signed up for it and agreed to pay it, when it's forgiven, it doesn't just go away. That debt is covered by the taxpayers. You're just transferring that to people who already paid their loans off and or people who didn't go to college and take out the loans. And that's not the way it should work.
Yeah, but that logic's not going to work because the idea is, well, if we all paid more taxes, then we
Mhm.
could pay for this for everybody, which again is not a very good system.
Right.
And yeah, the Heroes, I think it was the Heroes Act, is what they were citing, and it's if I'm remembering it correctly, because I know there's two different programs. So it
Yeah.
dates back to 2007, but it's only supposed to be for people that go into public services and those sorts
Mhm.
of things.
Mhm.
So I think they were trying to sneak that one by, and they just got caught because people are actually paying attention now.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. And there was one more push that I mean, I think this was just announced like within the past month. I think it was post-election that they were going to do one more push on the student loan front, and now they're doing an about face. Um, and again, I mean, I understand the arguments on both sides of that, and I think there's a very strong argument to be made for how messed up the higher education and funding for
Mhm.
higher education is. That needs to be revamped. I'm hoping somehow there'll be some Doge fallout that will have an effect, a secondary effect on how that's handled. And the cost of everything has gotten so inflated because of the government's involvement. And so I think it's very, very sound to take a look at that. But the fact that they're backtracking on something that they've doubled and tripled down on, even in the face of a Supreme Court ruling, granted, there were different pieces of the program that they were approaching. It wasn't all just one fell swoop. But again, it's interesting to me that they are at this point now choosing to back away from it.
Yeah, it's again, it's so hard, and when you think too, it's like they finally came out and said that for the past 4 years they've understood that there's been something mentally going on with Joe Biden,
Right.
and it's just now it's so apparent that they can no longer hide it or lie about it. So that raises the question too: is it Biden just having manic episodes where he's like yes, and he realizes oh I can't do that, or somebody else says no no
Right.
no, or is it there are different people that are in his cabinet, his crew, his
Mhm.
aides that are basically using his name as a scapegoat to try to push the stuff in, and then having other people come in and try to shut that back down?
No, I think that's a legitimate question because by their own accounts, he has good days and bad days. So there's got to be days where he is, maybe more lucid and thinking through things. So yeah, where are these coming from? Where are these changes coming from? Are they coming from Biden himself? You have to believe that most of the Biden administration moves over the past, let's just say 6 months to a year, have been pushed by people behind Biden, not him of his own initiative. But it's very interesting to watch. And as you said, unfortunately, there's still 27 days left. So I think we're all just kind of sitting here holding our breath, waiting for us to get through to the other side, waiting to exhale, if you will, for the Trump administration to come in. Hopefully we will survive till then. When we come back, we're going to talk to my red state colleague, Bill Cruz. He's got some thoughts on the Biden commutations and also on the end so far. So the so-called end of the State Department's Global Engagement Center, which should be a good thing, but we'll see what he has to say about that. Stick around, folks. You're listening to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
We'll say, are you married? We'll say no, man.
On the next
Larry Connors USA.
From News Talk STL and Larry Connors USA, wishing you a blessed Christmas and a happy Hanukkah.
Larry Connors USA. Now weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Just Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Temperatures today will be in the mid-40s. We have cloud cover overhead and this light drizzle, mainly south of St. Louis. We'll see that rain, but an additional wave will bring us an opportunity for showers tonight, and some of that rain will continue through early on Christmas Day. Temperatures overnight only falling to the lower 40s. Christmas Day itself expected to reach a high near 46 degrees with cloud cover. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Tim Jones here for my favorite St. Louis Sports Bar and Grill experience, the go-to spot of Johnny's Hideout. Johnny's Hideout featuring over 40 big screen TVs to watch all the great games this college and NFL season. Awesome food specials every single day that I absolutely love. Bike nights, classic cars on Wednesdays, live music every weekend, and a fantastic time to visit the gorgeous Sunset Patio. Located just 10 minutes from 270 in Gravois, open 7 days a week, 11 a.m. onwards. All the information you need to know at jhideout.com. That's jhideout.com. Johnny's Hideout in High Ridge.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
Are the days of a personal doctor gone? Not at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. I'm Dr. Randy Tobler to share how our design is putting the care back into healthcare. Plain and simple, our members, not insurance companies, get our exclusive focus. That means same or next day appointments, responsive answers to your concerns, and a no-spin, big tool chest approach. It's about time you get serious time devoted to your medical needs. To learn about healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
I think you're a little confused.
News, analysis, opinion.
I've got something to say and I can't hold it any longer.
1019 and 94.1.
You won't hear the truth anywhere but here. News Talk STL.
News Talk STL. Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL. Susie Moore filling in for Mike today, and privileged to be joined now by my Red State colleague, Bill Cruz. Good morning, Bill. How are you?
Hey, good morning. Happy New Year. Happy Christmas Eve.
Happy Christmas Eve and Happy New Year. We've got them all rolled into one. This next week is pretty condensed. It's great to talk to you. I'm really glad that you're on today in particular, because something you wrote yesterday kind of tied into something that I was just talking about, and that has to do with the commutations that Joe Biden issued early yesterday morning to 37 of 40 death row inmates in the federal system. Now, I wrote on the initial story about it and then a follow-up with Trump's reaction to it, which called it an abhorrent decision, noting that, there's a lot of issues with the decision itself, because it purports to be a matter of conscience, and yet there carves out an exception for three, I guess, extra super duper bad guys. And there's all kinds of inconsistencies there, but you also had an interesting take on it in your article about the fact that, the federal death penalty isn't even being enforced anyway.
Well, yes. So when you itemize the list of the 37 people who were commutated, their average time on death row was 17 years. 3 of the guys had been on death row over 30 years. But it's similar to what we have in California, where you actually have Father Time taking care of death row rather than the executioner. Guys are dying of old age there.
Right.
So it's not a terribly serious penalty. And to me, this is more of a emotional thing. I can understand. I was reading an interview by the father of one of the women that was killed by a guy. He lost his daughter and his grandchild. We're talking about the trauma of this happening, and it happening right at Christmas.
Yeah,
I completely understand that, and I completely understand Andy McCarthy's point over at National Review about it being so inconsistent that it looks arbitrary, and it looks so arbitrary that you wonder really what's at work here, and this carve out is not logical. And also, the other point I made in my post was you have four men on military death row. Why weren't they considered when 2 of them obviously fit the criteria? I mean, there's the guy that blew up the Tactical Operations Center for 3rd Brigade, 101st Airborne Division as they were getting ready to cross into Iraq during Desert Storm. You could probably call that terrorism or something close to that. And you also have the Nadal character who shot up the deployment center at Fort Hood.
Right.
But you have 2 guys on there who are just garden variety killers. One guy killed a woman and 2 kids. The other guy killed a couple of other soldiers and various things. And so they would fit very well in with the group that were commuted. And then the question becomes, why weren't they commuted? Because Biden actually has more control over military death row prisoners than he has over federal prisoners, because there's only one military court of review sitting there between him and them, not a whole string of federal circuits, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good point. And I didn't really see a whole lot of mention of that in the discussion about, the weird carve out for Tsarnaev and Bowers and Roof. I think that the military aspect of things with those other prisoners really got kind of glossed over.
Right. And so it's totally illogical. I'm not really sure what is going on, other than he is trying to prep for his visit with the Pope next month and being able to say, I did the best I could, type of thing, which is all sort of bizarre because, for all the portrayal of Joe Biden as a devout Catholic, I mean, this is sort of joke territory, even beyond, abortion. I'm not going to get into all the doctrinal things here, but the fact is when you're not living in a marriage that's really recognized by the church as licit, it's kind of hard to cross that bridge into being a, devout Catholic.
Right.
But so I quite honestly, this strikes me as typical half-witted Joe Biden stuff. I mean, I think the more we look for rhyme and reason in this, the more we're going to get frustrated.
No, I think you're right about that. But it is very strange because it's just like none of it either. It should have been, if it was truly a matter of conscience in trying to make himself right in some way, I hadn't thought about the Pope aspect of it as well, because there's certainly, at this point, what political consequences is he really worried about? I mean, he doesn't have to worry about that personally. But if it was truly a matter of conscience, then it should have been just across the board. And the fact that it wasn't
Right.
just
He should have just
completely
cleaned,
undermines it.
just cleaned the slate and went from there.
And let's bear in mind that they literally just charged Luigi Mangione with a capital crime.
Right. And I pointed that out in there also. And what they do to get the capital offense there, they draw a stretch to saying that the killing of the United Healthcare CEO was terrorism.
Right.
And there's nothing in his writings that indicate that he was trying to terrorize an entire business sector. He was trying to whack an individual guy.
Right. He was trying to get exact revenge, albeit misguided.
It was not terrorism, and so it doesn't even fit his own metrics for what is acceptable death penalty. And they did it for one reason. They did it because it's high profile. We're tough on crime.
Mm-hmm.
We hope people will forget about all of the illegals, about the woman burning to death on the subway.
Right.
We will just max this guy out, and the voters will forget.
Yep.
It's really like a metaphor for everything with Biden's entire administration.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. We have a few minutes left, Bill, and I wanted to talk to you too about something else you wrote on yesterday. The Global Engagement Center is going bye-bye, or went bye-bye at midnight. Tell folks a little bit about what that is and what is happening to it.
Well, even though some of my readers disagreed, I think the Global Engagement Center is one of those things where the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Right.
The government was concerned, rightfully, about the proliferation of Iranian, Russian, Chinese disinformation on social media. They were also concerned about, if you remember back at the time when this was first formed around 2017, ISIS was a big deal, and they had a very, very vibrant online presence. And so the idea was try to shut that down. Well, naturally, it goes from pinging individual accounts to shut down to going to social media platforms and having entire areas of discussion put off limits.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what it did with COVID. That's what it did during the 2020 election. I mean, there were all kinds of things. And after 2020, you could get banned instantly on Twitter at the time for hinting that you didn't think that the 100,000 vote dump into Fulton County, Georgia, with only 3 Trump votes at midnight was licit. You could get banned for just insinuating that. And so it went from being a protective, organization to being one that was actively involved in controlling what people could and could not say online.
Mm-hmm.
It nearly survived with that massive 1,500-page omnibus bill that Elon Musk got involved in shutting down, and it's gone away. But the bad thing about it is the people who work there were either seconded from other agencies, so they've gone back to their old gig,
Mm-hmm.
or they have applied for jobs somewhere else in the federal government, have been reassigned there. So the people with the inclination to shut down discussion are still employed, and they're probably still employed in important positions. So we really need to, yes, we can take a small victory lap on this, do a little Macarena perhaps, but we really need to keep our eye on this, because this impulse is not going away.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting on two fronts. As you said, the people aren't going away. That impulse isn't going away. They're just kind of recalculating and recalibrating, and
you might even say we're worse off because now we don't know where they are.
Right. You have to be extra vigilant. And the fact that they were trying to sneak it in under that massive CR last week, thank goodness that got blown up. Well, Bill, we only have about 30 seconds left here, I think. But before we go, I want you to let folks know where they can find you and your work.
Okay, so I write only at Red State under Susie's guidance, which is often needed. You can find me there under the authors category. I write under the screen name of Strife, Strieiff. And you can find me there just about any day of the week.
Great, Bill. Really appreciate it. I really appreciate you joining us today. And I hope you and yours have a very Merry Christmas.
Thank you very much, Susie. Same to you.
Take care. All right, folks. When we come back, we are going to talk a little bit about why I dream of Greenland. People don't really talk about Greenland very much, but we're going to talk about it a little bit more when we come back here on the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Democrat Party is going to have to go back toward the center.
News, analysis, and opinion.
I've never called a talk show before, but this just irked me.
1019 and 94.1 News Talk STL.
Craving real barbecue, St. Louis? Your search ends here. 4 incredible locations: Bogart's, Dale Smokehouse, and 2 Pappy Smokehouse spots, each serving up mouth-watering, slow-smoked perfection. Only the highest quality meats, prepared with love and care by our friendly staff. From ribs to brisket, our full menu has something for everyone. Dine in for lunch or dinner, or let us cater your next event. Bogart's, Dale Smokehouse, and Pappy Smokehouse. Where smoke meets delight, every bite is a highlight.
Larry Connors here, and I'm heading to southern Italy for a tour of the most beautiful coastline in the world, the Amalfi Coast. I want you to join me. We'll travel for 11 magical days with professionals from Conservative Tours. They're the best tour operators in Italy. Conservative Tours, an A+ rating with the BBB. $54.88 is your cost. That includes airfare from St. Louis, luxury hotels, dining events you'll remember for years. Call 888-733-9494 or go to conservativestours.com. Join me next spring in Italy on the Isle of Capri, just $54.88, including airfare from St. Louis. 888-733-9494 or go to conservativetours.com.
Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor. Congratulations to the awesome team at Connor Roofing for earning the 2024 National Best of the Best Award for customer satisfaction. Connor Roofing has now won back-to-back honors because they do outstanding work in all types of roofing, storm damage restoration, siding, gutters, both residential and commercial. We chose Connor Roofing without telling the owners, Rob and Kathy Connor. Their customer reviews are some of the best in the country. Please read them. Visit ConnorRoofing.com and request an estimate. Connor Roofing. You can count on Connor.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC, Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
With the average funeral bill over $9,000, are your loved ones prepared? Speak with Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial. Contact Benjamin at memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial, everlasting protection.
Hi, I'm Connie Britton. I support Feeding America because they help provide over 6 billion meals to people in need each year. Learn more at feedingamerica.org. Feeding America, 200 food banks strong.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning is brought to you by Stifel. Request a portfolio review from your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
It's Christmas time.
Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
In a world of plenty. Hi, sorry. Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. You play that song and you take me immediately back to being a junior in high school.
Glad, hopefully, good memories then.
Very good memories. So that was Band-Aid, the big Christmas time song, the collaborative effort.
Yeah.
Yes, and that came out when I was a junior in high school. If I'm pretty sure that's correct. So I would have been, 16. And it was one of those songs. It had all the cool people participating in it, and you could sing along to each of the parts. Maybe not so great like me. I can kind of try and mimic them. I'm not that great. But it was just one of those things that really kind of captured everybody's attention, and it was very much a moment in time. And one of the things that I will never forget about that song, I don't know who did it, never did find out. There was a morning, we were still in school. We hadn't gotten out for a Christmas break yet, and we came into our English class, and someone had written the entire lyrics out
Wow.
on the chalkboard overnight. And just in that classroom, it wasn't throughout the school. It was just that one classroom, and it wasn't the teacher. So it was just one of those things that was like, it really had an impact on people.
Santa.
Maybe it was Santa. It was Santa and his elves. So sorry, I get wrapped up in the music, and I love Christmas music. So you guys are just going to have to bear with me in my sentimentality here this morning on the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. But one of the things that has been really interesting to watch this time around with the Trump transition is his rollout of his nominations. He's come out with new ones almost every day. Some a little bit more obscure than others. Some you're like, we have this position in the government. I didn't know this existed. What you don't realize, because that's not really covered that much, is that the staffing the executive office of the federal government is a massive undertaking.
Oh, yeah.
There are thousands upon thousands of roles, and obviously not all of those are appointed roles, and not all of those have to be approved by the Senate, thank God. But there's still a lot that has to be done, and so he's been rolling these out every day, and he's at the point now where he's kind of like getting to the ambassadors. He's I'm naming Callista, not Flockhart, Callista Gingrich to as ambassador to Switzerland. I think this time around. Last time around, she had the Holy See, so she was at the Vatican. But one of the ones he rolled out the other day was, and this wasn't a name I'm familiar with, Ken Howery, who I think is one of the co-founders of PayPal. Anyway, he's been named as the ambassador to Denmark. Okay, well, that's great. Good luck, Danes. That's wonderful. Interestingly enough, though, as part of that announcement, soon to be again President Trump said, I'm like, okay, here we go. For purposes of the national security and freedom throughout the world, the United States of America feels that the ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity. Ken will do a wonderful job in representing the interests of the United States. So he kind of slipped that little foreign policy statement in there. Now, of course, Greenland right now is a territory of Denmark, which is why the connection there. And this isn't the first time that Donald Trump has made overtures toward Greenland. In his first administration, he suggested that it would be a great purchase, and people thought he was just crazy. Now, you can take that in the context of him joking, and I think he was joking about annexing Canada and making it the 51st state and making Justin Trudeau a governor. And you can take it in the context of him kind of tussling with Panama over the Panama Canal and saying, you know what, we want it back. And this isn't about Panama. This isn't about going at it with Panama. It's about going at it with China. Because China, since we ceded the canal back to Panama, China has taken a kind of an overwhelming role in relation to that, and we're paying exorbitant fees to use it. And there's some logic to what he's doing here. There's some strategery going on there. But with Greenland, people kind of forget that Greenland exists. You don't hear a lot about Greenland. It's way up there in the Arctic North, that sort of thing. But that's exactly why it's an interesting proposition. Strategically, it's the North Atlantic, okay? So you've got, just like we've got Alaska and the North Pacific, that helps kind of helps us strategically maintain our presence in the Pacific and also keep an eye on Russia, because you can see Russia from your house from some points in Alaska. But with Greenland, it's the same thing because of the way the world's shaped. I mean, it's right there at the top of the North Atlantic, and it geographically plays a significant role. Not only that, but it has a number of resources. And he's not talking about conquering. This is not about conquest, at least not in the war-making sense. He's talking about purchasing it, just like Alaska was purchased.
Louisiana purchased.
Exactly. Now, we kind of live in this time where we think of like these things as sort of set in stone. Like, there's never going to be a 51st state. There's just going to be 50. Well, there was a long time when there was just 48. And then they added 2 more, including Alaska, which was already a territory of ours at that point. But, things do change, and countries do change. Countries' borders do change, sometimes by force, unfortunately, but sometimes by acquisition. I don't know that the Danes are going to be real gung-ho about giving up their claim to Greenland. I don't know that the Greenlanders, if that's what they're called, are going to be super thrilled about the notion of becoming, a territory of the United States. But I think people that dismiss it out of hand or think that he's just loony for mentioning it are missing the larger point.
Absolutely. And going back to Denmark, that was a Viking colony they went to. I would love to see him purchase it and then just rename it Iceland to reflect the fact that it's covered in ice.
It's the icy one, and Iceland is the green one. I know.
And then after that, sell it back just to mess with everybody.
Well, he's talking about renaming some stuff. He's talking about taking Denali back to Mount. I don't know if he's going to call it Mount McKinley or something else. And some of the military bases that were renamed. He's talking about kind of undoing that. So he could do that too. I imagine that would cause people's heads to spin right off, I am sure. But it's I think it ties back into, and I can't remember who said it originally. It might have been Selena Zito, but somebody said, people who pay attention to Donald Trump recognize eventually that you shouldn't take what he says literally, but you should take it seriously.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. And I think this is one of those situations. We can joke about, annexing Greenland and that sort of thing. But there's a certain logic to it that I can't just dismiss out of hand. And I think people that do that are overlooking the fact that, this is a president who wants what's best for America and wants us to be a strong, thriving, prosperous nation. And this is one of the ways that he sees helping to do that. So I'm not dismissing it out of hand. I don't know. Stick around, folks. When we come back after the top of the hour, we are going to be talking to none other than Tim Jones and finding out what's going on in all the craziness in St. Louis and in the country. You're listening to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Dive into adventure with Great American Divers. We're your local veteran-owned scuba center offering PADI certification courses, equipment repairs, and dive travel opportunities. From beginners to experts, we got you covered. Kids can join our SEAL Team classes, and we even host pool parties. Our experienced staff is passionate about teaching, and we're the only center in the area with our own indoor heated pool. Great American Divers on Central School Road in St. Charles. Visit greatamericandivers.com. Great American Divers, where adventure runs deep.
Need reliable auto service from people you can trust? Look no further than Western Tire and Auto. For over 15 years, we've been your complete automotive repair center, family owned and operated, with owner Dean Cleathermes bringing 30 years of industry experience. At Western Tire and Auto, you're not just a customer, you're family. We promise 100% satisfaction, treating you with the transparency, respect, and honesty you deserve. Visit us in St. Peters or in Florissant. For appointments, call or check westerntireauto.com. Western Tire and Auto, your local automotive experts since 2008.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
Looking for a top-quality tactical gear and expert advice? Look no further than Discount Tactical, your one-stop shop for all things firearms and self-defense. Located in the heart of Warrenton, we've been serving the community for 3 years with our friendly, professional, and knowledgeable staff. From custom AR builds and silencers to the largest selection of parts, we've got you covered. Self-defense weapons, SBRs, knives, ammo, custom holsters, weapon lights, optics, and body armor. Discount Tactical. Online at discounttacticalarmory.com or stop by today and gear up with confidence.
Hello, Tim Jones here with Eric from Newsteaders Fine Jewelers. Eric, your diamonds are so fantastic at Newsteaders. You named the website after them, wowdiamonds.com. Tell us about Wow Diamonds.
Well, we picked that name. KLTY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Belfast, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
American Airlines to ground all of its U.S. flights. The airline posting on X, technicians are working to fix the unspecified issue in the shortest possible time. Hamas and Hezbollah have already felt the wrath of Israel. Now the Jewish state is focusing on Yemen's Houthi rebels after the Iran-backed group fired a missile. It was intercepted by the Israeli military.
The latest missile came just hours after Israel's defense minister, Israel Katz, said the country would decapitate the leadership of the Houthis as it had with Hamas and Hezbollah. His remarks are the first time that Israel has publicly acknowledged killing the Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Iran. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said progress is being made towards a ceasefire and hostage release deal in Gaza. Today, Christians in Bethlehem will for the second year hold more muted celebrations at the Church of the Nativity. The head of the Catholic Church here has just returned from Gaza, where he told Palestinian Christians, "The whole world is with you, the war will finish and we will rebuild."
The BBC's Amir Nata in Jerusalem. A powerful storm that's battering California's central coast is blamed for at least one death amid predictions of hurricane-force winds and 60-foot waves. In Santa Cruz, the under-construction municipal wharf partially collapsed, falling into the raging Pacific.
Forecasts suggest conditions are likely to worsen. In Santa Cruz, Mayor Fred Keeley says the pilings and piers now in the water
weigh hundreds and hundreds of pounds apiece and are being driven by the Pacific Ocean. That is not something that we think folks ought to mess around with. We encourage people to stay out of the water until further notice.
I'm Ben Thomas.
A holiday shortened trading session today on Wall Street. The NYSE and the NASDAQ closing at 1 p.m. Eastern. Right now, Dow futures down 17 points, while the NASDAQ futures are 39 points higher. More on these stories at townhall.com.
I want you to be realistic about December. We're going to have lots of treats, lots of temptations. It's got to be the worst month of the year in terms of eating right. But look, don't stuff treats, meats, and dishes into your mouth without Balance of Nature every single day. Balance of Nature is made from whole fruit and veggie ingredients, and you should not skip taking these daily supplements. I never do. So one thing I get right, because feeling good is important to me, especially in December. Join me in pushing back against the dreaded December crash. Get Balance of Nature today. Use the discount code Mike G, sign up as a new customer, and we're going to get you 35% off, plus free shipping and their money-back guarantee. This is an awesome December discount, but you got to use my promo code Mike G. Come on, join me on the Balance of Nature story. Call 800-246-8751 and use the discount code Mike G. 800-246-8751, discount code Mike G, or order online at balanceofnature.com. Use the discount code Mike G to get 35% off, plus free shipping from Balance of Nature.
States.
Hong Kong's government offering rewards of more than $100,000 for the arrest of 6 pro-democracy activists now living abroad.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Just Leah here with your first alert forecast. Temperatures today will be in the mid-40s. We have cloud cover overhead and this light drizzle. Mainly south of St. Louis, we'll see that rain, but an additional wave will bring us an opportunity for showers tonight, and some of that rain will continue through early on Christmas Day. Temperatures overnight only falling to the lower 40s. Christmas Day itself expected to reach a high near 46 degrees with cloud cover. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Piccadilly Palace, located in Union, Missouri. The ultimate family fun center is Piccadilly Palace. Call 314-860-6418 or visit piccadillypalace.com.
Hey, it's Vic. Are you worried about rising taxes? Well, you're not alone. With government spending outpacing revenue, many Americans fear a tax hike is on the horizon. But here's the good news. You have options. Chris Cooper of Serenity Wealth Management specializes in tax-efficient strategies for income planning, legacy, and growth. Chris knows your money will go to one of 3 places: the government, healthcare, or your family and charities? Shouldn't your loved ones come first? Don't let Uncle Sam be your biggest beneficiary. Take control of your financial future today. Visit SerenityNowTax.com for your free copy of Chris's book, The New Holistic Retirement. Serenity Wealth Management, because you deserve peace of mind in retirement. Request your free book today at SerenityNowTax.com. That's SerenityNowTax.com to get your free copy of The New Holistic Retirement. That's SerenityNowTax.com. Serenity Now with Chris Cooper.
Investment advice offered through Fortis Capital Advisors.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson.
You play ball like a girl!
Gabe Pfeiffer.
I triple song stereo!
Get up! Get up! Can't you hear the alarm?
Get up, St. Louis.
So it's time to get out of bed. Pour yourself the greatest cup of Kofifi the world has ever seen. Rise up with one voice, drain the swamp, and take back our country. Today's the day we're going to do it, and it's time to do it right now, believe me.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
Get up! Get up! This is your cousin.
Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. Even though Mike is not here, we are still doing the Kofifi dance at 7 a.m. just to help us all wake up and be excited. And I'm excited. I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited for President Trump to take office again. Believe me. But I'm also excited because we are joined now by none other than the speaker, Mr. Tim Jones. Good morning, Tim. How are you?
Good morning, Susie, Jerome. Merry Christmas Eve to everyone. Thanks for having me on this morning.
Merry Christmas Eve. I was really glad that you said that you could be on today because there's several things that I want to talk with you about. And I know I just talked to you yesterday on your show, but we never seem to have quite enough time to get through it all. So I'm going to take a little bit more of your time this morning. First of all, Tim, what the heck is going on in St. Louis? I mean, every time I turn around, there's a headline about Tashara Jones, no relation, and all the
Served with her.
craziness. You did? That's right. I forgot. She
did.
was in the
Knew her-
legislature, wasn't she?
I knew her when. She knew me when.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Well, I don't even follow the goings on in the city of St. Louis that closely anymore because I don't work downtown anymore and I'm not practicing in the court system there anymore. So it's of less direct impact. But every time I turn around, there's a headline about some sort of corruption or somebody getting fired or something going wrong. And I can't figure out what the heck's going on.
Well, Susie, it's not your imagination. We speak with Chris Arps and I speak with David Stokes every Tuesday afternoon, and I have the same belief that you do, that you just eloquently stated, that the city of St. Louis is an epic disaster. It's not our imagination, is what I'm saying, because it seems that every week when we speak with David Stokes at the Show Me Institute, 425 on Tuesdays on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show, that one of the many stories we discuss with him is all about the absolute, and I'm not talking about, oh, this was a funny little thing that happened, or this was interesting, or they had a little kerfluffle over at City Hall. Epic disasters and amazing dysfunction to the point where it stresses the bounds of credulity, right? You're like, how could the city be this bad is often the question. And on the other hand, Susie, I have, I'm so, like many things in life these days, because we do remember when they were great, and hopefully Donald Trump and our state leaders will help make things great again all across the country. We do remember the time. It wasn't, you and I are in the same generation, but we didn't roam the earth when the dinosaurs were here. It wasn't that long ago. Basically probably my parents' generation was the last time St. Louis was truly great. Although, you got to maybe go even a little bit further back from that, because, and I don't think this is an accident, and I think this is a related I think this is a connection, and perhaps even a very strong causal connection. The last time there was a Republican mayor in the city of St. Louis was nearly, I believe, 80 years ago. 80 years ago. So I guess we're going back to my grandparents' generation. But, Susie, especially this time of year, when we watch all of the nostalgic Christmas movies. One of the favorite ones in our family, in our Jones household, that we always watch around this time of year, sometimes 2 or 3 times, is Meet Me in St. Louis.
Yeah.
And that was set, of course, around the 1904 World's Fair. Okay. And so that's over 100 years ago. But Susie, at that time, what were the themes in that movie? Not that St. Louis was some down and out crime-ridden hellhole,
No.
but it was the place to be in the United States of America. This was a Midwestern gem, and there's several lines throughout the movie, and there's one at the end. I think it's Judy Garland that says it. You know, where else would we want to be but St. Louis, because everything's happening here and the best is yet to come. And I go, oh, darling, you were right, and then you were wrong.
Right.
And we did have that renaissance here from the early 1900s through probably the 30s, 40s, 50s for sure. And then things started going downhill. But you're correct, Susie. It's not your imagination. There is massive dysfunction. There is a massive leadership vacuum. And these are the things, Susie, that the city can't blame on Republicans, although they try. They always try to say, oh, the guns, the guns are always the reason. Well, Tashara Jones and her administration being completely incompetent and inept has nothing to do with the otherwise law-abiding Missourian Second Amendment rights. So stop blaming everything on that, because your problems, number one, aren't related to that whatsoever. And number two, you need to start looking in the mirror.
Yeah. And, I don't think that I'm not going to hold my breath that she's going to do that. And the reason I say that is twofold. Number one, we just haven't seen her do that up till now. But I don't follow her. I don't follow her career or what she has to say that closely. But the last time I looked over the weekend on Twitter, she's on Twitter like in a slap fight with Jane Duker and Jason Rivera, one of the local reporters, and she's trolling them. It wasn't, I get the whole mean tweets thing about Donald Trump. Well, Donald Trump doesn't do that he puts out his statements about what he believes.
And then he moves on.
And then he moves on. She was literally in a junior high slap fight. And it was, I don't know, it was mind-boggling to me. I'm like, you're the mayor of a major city that is in dire need of leadership. And your answer to that is to, clap back on Twitter because people are criticizing your administration when things have really gone to hell in the city. It's mind-boggling to me that she doesn't have more, for her ties to the city, for her, history of the city. Why wouldn't she care more and want better for the city that she governs?
Yeah. Does she not see the fall of Rome before her very eyes? Right. And I keep trying to figure out what is it that they're trying to make St. Louis into. Right. And she also fell victim to what I call the wokeatocracy. And she decided that she couldn't go left enough. Right. I think she was at the tip of the spear on that. Tashara Jones and I served together in the Missouri House of Representatives between 2007 and around 2015. That's not that long ago.
No.
And back then, she was an extremely reasonable person to speak with politically and philosophically. And we had some common ground on things like providing parents the power and the choice to make education decisions for the children. We agreed on certain issues in and around having safety on streets and to have a region that was productive as far as the development of the economy, because St. Louis needed to be. This is where 35-40% of the if you add in our collar counties of Franklin, St. Charles, and Jefferson, you add those into St. Louis County to St. Louis City, that's a huge percentage of the population of the state that lives within 1 hour or less of the center of downtown St. Louis, which has become rotten to the core. So it's this massive move to the left. It's this massive bending of the knee to the wokeatocracy, and something you just referenced and referred to. It's a lack of a vision.
Yeah.
Okay. Having Twitter fights and getting ridiculously granular with individuals instead of addressing the issues, the issues, and having a vision for solving the problems of the city of St. Louis. And it's not that hard, Susie. I'll bet you if you got somebody in there who was like a Ron DeSantis, who was like a Donald Trump, who was like so many of these other Sarah Huckabee Sanders, a Kim Reynolds, a leader, a true leader with vision, that you know what they would do? they would clean up the streets and solve the crime issue by getting police back on the streets and actually letting them police and instilling law and order. And then they would work on the economic issues, and then they would work on the education issues. And they probably would do all three at the same time, because you really need to start putting the fire out. But all they do is Band-Aid items. And, this is really sad, because I still have a nostalgic pull and connection to the city, and I still try to do everything I can to support it. Our family, we were down there. I was down in the city many times over the Christmas season. We went to the Missouri Botanical Gardens. I went down to the Hill for the St. Louis City Republicans Christmas party. I'm in and out of the city all the time because I don't want to give up on it, but they're making it really hard not to, for most people who are just like, that's down there and those are their problems. Yeah. I try not to feel that way, because I do understand the importance of the city. My mother grew up in the city of St. Louis, and I have many wonderful memories of it. And I'd like them not to just be memories from decades gone by.
Producer Jerome filling in real quick. Good morning, the Forever the People speaker, Tim Jones. Thanks for joining us today. So I've been following Mayor Tashara Jones since I've moved down here. And again, I'm originally from the Illinois area, so I'm very familiar with how destructive Democratic policies can be in large cities. But one thing I can't seem to figure out, so when it comes to why people continue to stick up for Mayor Jones, is it a lack of campaigning and educational resources coming from the conservative side? Is it people that this might just actually be what they want from their government for whatever insane reason? Where do you think that the breakdown between fixing St. Louis's problems and getting people like this out of office is?
Well, I hate to say it, and everybody on the left who listens to our station, I know quite a few liberals do, they can send all their hate mail to me. I think this is what we said about Kamala Harris, and that Tashara Jones is a DEI hire. And I hate to say that, because I think Tashara is an extremely brilliant person. I think she knows exactly what she's doing. I think she feels that she has to do all of these completely insane, nonsensical, progressive left-wing liberal policies to stay in power. So number one, I think she wants power. And number two, I think she believes that she can only stay in power by completely bending the knee to the squad sisters on the national everything. It seems, Jerome, all of our politics, for better or for worse, and sometimes it is for worse, has gotten nationalized. Now, do I want Missourians to want things that we talk about on the national scene, like lower taxes, lower regulations, help with crime? Yeah, because some of those national issues are our issues. But on the other hand, you can go too far. And by Tashara trying to be, a member of the squad here on the local level, which I feel that's who she's identifying with these days, to borrow a term from the left, she's doing a great disservice to what I think is honestly in her heart, and because I've worked right next to her and I've heard her speak in a different time, in a different generation. And I think she needs to realize that, it seems like we had this discussion with somebody the other day. It seems like all these woke, progressive, insane ideas, they start on the coasts, and then Missouri starts emulating them about 6 to 8 months later when everyone's realized it's a bad idea, How about Tashara be at the tip of the spear for once and realize that people like AOC and Jamal Bowman, who got defeated in office this year, and Cory Bush, and to bring it close to home, that's not what Americans want. And I'm talking all Americans. I'm not just talking Republicans. I'm talking Democrats, independents, people on the right, the left, and the middle. They have realized and woken up. They're awake and not woke. And I think that's what she needs to realize as well, because people realize you have to have safe streets. You have to have an education system that works. And that then will lead businesses to continue to remain in St. Louis versus epically fleeing it like they have for the 80 plus years. We're now down to way below 3. Wichita, Kansas, folks, is now population-wise larger than the city of St. Louis.
Crazy.
Let that sink in.
Crazy. Tim, can you stick around for the next segment?
I am able to, yeah.
Awesome. Good. Because I've got some more I want to talk to you about on the national level. So stick around, folks. We're going to come back right after this here on the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show on News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson in the Morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 941, 991 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
Timmy.
Hey, did you hear what Vic Porcelli did today?
Are you in your tidy whities?
Believe it or not, I actually put on comfy pants.
Vic Porcelli.
I'm not Jeffrey Tubin today. I got my comfy pants on.
Live and local weekday mornings at 9 on News Talk STL.
The Herzog Tomorrow Foundation provides private school tuition scholarships through Missouri's new Most Scholars program to cover the cost of accessible, high-quality schooling.
Hi, this is Myella Esser with the Herzog Tomorrow Foundation. Our private school tuition scholarships wouldn't be possible without the support of generous Missouri taxpayers. If you're a Missouri taxpayer interested in redirecting your tax dollars and sending them to Missouri students in need of a better education, please contact me at herzogmostscholars.org.
Better education for students creates a better tomorrow for all. Learn how you can help provide a better education for Missouri students at herzogmostscholars.org. That's herzogmostscholars.org. Also, sign up for The Lion, an initiative of the Herzog Foundation that carries articles covering a wide range of issues facing American families and culture. herzogfoundation.com. That's herzogfoundation.com.
No. No, no!
Is your computer giving you headaches? Make it happy again with Jeff Computers. For 30 years, this locally and family-owned business has been the St. Louis area's trusted one-stop shop for cybersecurity, managed IT, and data recovery services. Choose the experts at Jeff Computers. They offer computer protection plans and can recover your lost or damaged data. Visit them in Ellisville or call 636-256-7901. Online at jeffcomputers.com. And tell them News Talk STL sent you.
Psst. Want to hear the best kept secret in St. Louis? Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares. According to our customers, we have the best St. Louis style pizza anywhere. And we can't disagree. Dine in, pick up, or delivery at all 3 Steph's Pizza locations. In Lake St. Louis at 111 Potterford Trail, St. Peter's on Juggerman, and in St. Charles on Zumbell. Check us out at Steph'sPizza.com. Steph's Pizza. We're not afraid to compare squares.
Here's some expert advice from McGuire Moving and Storage. If you have a home or business move coming up, you need to book now. Most moving companies are booked 6 to 8 weeks out. So call McGuire now, get an on-site estimate, set a date. McGuire has 85 years of experience and just won the Spire Quality Award. I can personally testify McGuire goes above and beyond to help the clients. McGuire Moving and Storage, McGuireMoving.com.
We aren't asking you to volunteer for CASA. We're asking you to advocate for
Alex,
Andre,
Ava,
Max,
Olivia, Ciara.
CASA volunteers make a lasting impact in a child's life in only a few volunteer hours a week. As a CASA volunteer, you support a child throughout their experience in foster care, advocating for their needs and ensuring their voice is heard.
Learn more at mocasa.org. Paid for by the Missouri CASA Association.
Live and local.
Well, here's what's on my mind. I think I got the solution to immigration.
News Talk STL. News, analysis, opinion.
Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let your heart be light. From now on.
You're listening to News Talk STL. Mike Ferguson in the morning. We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL.
Merry little. Speaking of Meet Me in St. Louis, isn't this song from Meet Me in St. Louis, Tim?
It is. And the first version of it was actually a bit darker and a little bit more melancholy.
Really?
And Judy Garland was like, okay, we need to lift this thing up just a hair.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
so
it's a wistful song, but you don't want it to be totally melancholy.
There were a couple lines that were kind of the darker side of Christmas. And there is a darker side because, right, we talk about the reaffirmation of the human soul, right? The resurrection of we think about, when we think about Christmas, we think about what comes later, and that was the resurrection of Christ after the crucifixion. So, there is a melancholy side to it. Charles Dickens, I think, captured it perfectly in A Christmas Carol. And there's been many different versions of that. And there was one that came out a couple of years ago on FX, 2019, Guy Pearce, starring as kind of a evil, sexy version of Scrooge.
Really?
And it got critically attacked and critically acclaimed. It was a mini series originally, and it's called A Christmas Carol. But boy, is it a different version. It's still set in England in the what is that? The 1800s. And but it is a very, very dark journey through the more troubled aspects of the human soul. It shows Scrooge for the horrible person that he is, but why he became that horrible person through a lot of the horrible things that happened to him in his life. And at the end, yes, there is a redemption story and there is hope, but unlike the traditional telling, you're not quite at the end. It's kind of up to Scrooge to decide if he's really going to live life better. And so it's 3.5 hours long, Susie, if you want to really settle in and watch that. I really like it. Many people did not, but it was an interesting version.
So I have to check that out.
I like those stories. I'm an English literature major, and so I like to dig deep into stuff and then come out of it better on the other side.
Well, speaking of digging deep into stuff, we had a narrow miss last week in Washington, D.C. in the swamp with the massive CR that was, going to go past sailing through in theory until many on the right, including Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, and then Donald Trump himself said, wait a second. We don't think this is the way this should be done to fund the government. Let's make it a clean CR. Let's slim this down. And so we dodged a bullet there. But as a former speaker yourself, and I realize that you're talking about a scale differential, but you've got some insight into what it's like to try to herd the cats of a raucous caucus. What is your take on Mike Johnson's approach and what you think may be going on here with how he's trying to, I guess, do his job and not always managing to do so successfully?
Well, he's got one of the hardest jobs in the world, but he signed up for it. And he continues to obviously want to do it. If he doesn't want to do one of the most difficult jobs in the world, he doesn't have to. So I applaud him for trying. And yes, I had a caucus of over 100. I can't imagine a caucus of over 200.
Yeah.
Twice the problems.
None of whom really agree on anything.
Right. However, I am going to say this as kind of my overarching theme in response to this question. When are we going to start doing things differently? When? Because I keep hearing the excuses every single time we try to do things differently, and it generally devolves back into politics. Well, you know what? On this issue, politics be damned. Sorry for the rough language at 7:25 in the morning on Christmas Eve, but we have a 36. I feel, Susie, like they ignore the forest for the trees all the time because we have to put the fire out this one time. Oh, just this one time we have to do this. Oh, just this one time becomes every time. And at some point it's not gonna matter. And imploding government with a debt bomb of over $36 trillion. It isn't going to care that you just can't wrap your head around trying to deal with the politics of it this one more time.
Right.
Because it needs to sometime be, we're going to do it now. And maybe that's in the next Congress, because we've got to get a handle on what I think is a national security issue of a debt and deficit bomb looming over us.
No doubt. And I think the proof of it is going to be in the first 6 months of the Trump administration, when you've got the White House, the Senate, and the House all on the same side, in theory, whether they are able to make some of those changes and really set a different tone. That's going to be very, very telling. I do think it's interesting.
And Susie, the result of this did prove you can do it differently, right? They didn't do it perfectly, but they did it better than they could have, right? Yes, they appropriated more money, but it was for disaster relief. As far as the CR goes, They didn't cram it full of the porculus and the cromnibus. They
Right.
did things differently. It can be done. It's just going to take some political will and might.
And some backbone. I know that there are, of course, lots of people who are calling for Mike Johnson to step aside, or for him, for somebody else to step up and vie for the role. They're going to be trying to sort that out as soon as they get back there on January 3rd. I keep telling people, that's not the fight you want to have right now, and I guarantee, even if Donald Trump wasn't over the moon with how Mike Johnson handled this, he does not want a speaker fight in the days ahead of January 6th, which is the certification of his presidency.
And I agree with you. And despite my criticism I just levied against Mike Johnson, I do think he might be the best you're going to get. Look, the fella's he's been in the office for how long?
A year.
Not even a year, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a year?
A little over a year.
And little over a year. And he still has yet, I feel, to find all the bathrooms,
Yeah.
and what I mean
he did
by
say
that,
they are going to be gender specific, though.
very good. And what I mean by that really is I really feel he's yet to find all the levers of power and the strategery that he needs to deploy as speaker on different issues. A lot of these issues, Susie, that he's confronting are issues he's confronting as speaker for the first time. He's still having some first time experiences.
Right.
And so I don't know who you're going to get that's going to be better. As flawed as he might be, and that would be any of us and all of us and everyone in the House, we would all have our strengths and weaknesses in one of the most difficult jobs in the world. I do like his communication style. I think he's vastly improved that.
Yes.
I think he's a good advocate for the cause. I like his unflappability. I like his calmness. I just feel that he needs to stop going back on things. He specifically violated several of his own rules during the CR battle. And so I think as speaker, you need to decide your course. And then for better or for worse, I'm sorry, you have to stick to it. And you have to, a lot of times you use that famous saying from the old Robert Frost poem, the only way out is through.
You're right.
And that's going to be the case for a lot of things that Speaker Johnson has to deal with, because guess what, Susie, his majority is not getting any better.
No.
Even into the new year.
It's not. Well, Tim, I want to thank you very, very much for joining us this morning. It's been great talking with you and getting to flesh some of these things out. I want to wish you and yours a very, very Merry Christmas. And I'm sure I'll be talking to you in the next, week or two anyway, but you guys really enjoy your holiday.
I sure will, Susie. And same to you and your wonderful family. And thanks for being part of everything here that we've built at News Talk STL Nation. Thank you so much to the listeners. Thank you to producer Jerome for getting up early on Christmas Eve. And I want to leave everybody with a little gift. I read this yesterday on my speaker stump speech. It's in the Wall Street Journal. It's every Christmas time. It's called In Hoc Anno Domini. And it's in the year of our Lord. And it is truly a wonderful view of the reason for the season. So Merry Christmas to everybody.
Thanks, Tim. Merry Christmas. Folks, when we come back, we are going to be talking with my Red State colleague, Becky Noble. So stick around. You're listening to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show, 94.1, 101.9 News Talk STL.
Well, there you go again, listening to Mike Ferguson in the Morning on News Talk STL.
We are as in olden days, happy golden days of your.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Legislator Hill with your first alert forecast. Temperatures today will be in the mid-40s. We have cloud cover overhead and this light drizzle, mainly south of St. Louis. We'll see that rain, but an additional wave will bring us an opportunity for showers tonight, and some of that rain will continue through early on Christmas Day. Temperatures overnight only falling to the lower 40s. Christmas Day itself expected to reach a high near 46 degrees with cloud cover. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Creators of the Public Schoolhouse, the premier event venue in Connellville, now present Oak Street Inn and Lounge. Trust me, you're going to need to personally see how this 1862 gem is transformed into a breathtaking destination. And you'll have an unforgettable culinary experience at Oak Street. Make your reservations for dinner or staycation. Oak Street Inn and Lounge.com.
Larry Connor's Commentary, brought to you by Vincent's Jewelers, offering a wide selection of jewelry, including lab-grown diamonds, affordable earrings, bracelets, necklaces, and rings, up to 75% off their natural counterparts. Visit VincentsJewelers.com. This is Larry Connor's Commentary on News Talk STL.
This time of year can be full of cheer and joy, but For some, it might be depressing. For those, I pray you find some joy. And I think it helps to surround yourself with family and friends. And yet some might prefer to be alone. The Washington Post has a story on 2 women, 1 man, how they were going to spend their time. The article reads, they love their families. They just want to spend the holidays alone, basically celebrating loneliness. To me, that sounds truly sad. And one said, I don't want the stress of making others happy. There should be no stress in just sharing a smile, a laugh. Another said she was taking a trip to New York by herself to be surrounded by strangers. The man said he would treat himself to a 4-course dinner, stay home, watch Christmas movies. Oh, by the way, the woman going to New York said she will also be on TikTok to celebrate with others who want to be alone. Makes sense? This year, Christmas and Hanukkah overlap. Whatever your religion, whatever your political belief, I pray that you truly are blessed over these holidays.
Get more Larry Connors on Larry Connors USA.
Tonight at 6 on News Talk STL.
Hey, Tim Jones here with a reminder. Winter is the perfect time to obtain an expert evaluation of all your trees, shrubs, your biggest assets for safety, health, or maybe even removal. Hanson's Tree Service, locally owned and operated, not only can consult with you on the exact services you need, but during the winter months, you might even save more money. Keep their emergency number handy in case you need it. Emergency removal anytime over the winter months. Hanson's Tree Service, 636-379-1830, hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
For over half a century, Joe Bacardi's has been serving up a little taste of Italy right here in St. Louis. Family owned since 1971, we're more than just a restaurant. We're a local landmark. With 4 convenient locations, we offer something for everyone, from our famous pizzas to mouth-watering entrees and delicious salads. Dine in with a glass of wine or grab a quick carryout. Whether it's dinner for 2 or catering for a crowd, Joe Bacardi's has you covered. Visit joebacardis.com and join our loyalty program. Joe Bacardi's, where every meal ends with buon appetito.
Let Severs JCB create a custom purchasing plan for your year-end equipment needs and maximize your tax savings. Whether you need 0% financing for up to 60 months, generous cash incentives up to $9,000, or extended warranties for up to 5 years, Severs JCB can tailor a plan to fit your fleet needs and budget. Programs are available on a wide range of products, including track loaders, excavators, wheel loaders, and more. Call, stop by, or check them out online at seversjcb.com.
Subscribe and watch your favorite News Talk STL shows.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. The Vic Porcelli Show. Columbo and Company. Jones and Arps.
Webcam streaming on Facebook, Twitter, Rumble.
Subscribe and watch
News Talk STL.
Build a fire and gather round the tree. Fill a glass and maybe come and sing with me.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL. Susie Moore filling in for Mike today with producer Jerome here at my side, and I am joined now by my Red State colleague, Becky Noble. Good morning and Merry Christmas Eve, Becky.
I can't hear anything. The line's dead.
Uh-oh.
Well, I can't hear a thing.
I'll go ahead and give her a call back.
Sure. We'll get her right back here. So I'm really looking forward to talking to Becky. And I'm going to tell you why. She has written some of the neatest articles, not neatest articles, the most interesting articles the past couple of days at Red State. She has covered some of the most interesting stories, including when I first happened upon it, I couldn't even believe it was true. She'll get into it more once we have her back on the line. But, you know, we've talked a little bit about the fact that some of our elected leaders are a little long in the tooth and maybe not still on the top of their game, at the top of their game. And so maybe not in the best position to be continuing in their leadership roles. And, you know, we talk about that and people talk about term limits and maybe that we should implement those. Well, Becky happened to write on an instance that no one really knew about. It was kind of under the radar until recently, and that involves a congresswoman from Texas. Good morning, Becky. Merry Christmas Eve, and I'm glad you're here to talk with us about some of the stuff you've been writing about.
Hi, Susie.
Hi, it's great to talk to you. I was kind of leading into this. This was a story. It happened across. I happened to see it on my Twitter feed, and I think I shared it, and you took it and ran with it. This kind of amazing story out of Texas. We've got a missing congresswoman. We've got a congresswoman who really hasn't been in Congress or acting as in her role as an elected representative for over 6 months. Tell us a little bit more about what you found in writing this up.
Well, it's funny because when I first saw this, I looked at it first and didn't think too much of it, and then a couple minutes later, I went back to it and thought, oh, but yeah, her name is Kay Granger, and her congressional district is in the Fort Worth area, kind of west of Dallas, and the last known vote in Congress that they had recorded for her was from July, and nobody had heard from her. And so this newspaper down in Dallas, I guess, decided to kind of dig into it and find out what was going on. And so they called both of her congressional offices, both the one in her district and the one in Washington. And all they got was a voicemail. Thanks for calling. Leave your name and number and a message. And that was it. So then somebody from the newspaper went in person to her congressional office there in the Fort Worth area. The place was all locked up. There were no employees, no assistants or anything there. There's a window on the front door that's covered up, and the place is locked up tight. And so at that point, they're like, what's going on? So long story short, they said that they got a tip from someone that this woman is a current sitting congresswoman. She was going to retire at the end of this session, back in November. Someone was elected to fill the seat, and she was going to retire at the end of this session. But for now, she's still a sitting congresswoman for that district, for the 12th congressional district in Texas. They found this woman residing at, they referred to it as a memory care assisted living facility. And how she got there, they really didn't give a timeline on how long she had been there or really kind of how she came to be there. But they said that I guess the reason that she is there is because she was found wandering around her district confused. Sound familiar?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, she just apparently didn't have as many handlers as some of our other officials.
Right.
That's just amazing.
It really is. It is. So obviously all of the Republican higher ups and leaders in that area are a little perturbed and put out. But, I as I was researching this story and I was on Twitter looking at things, and, people brought up some really good points about, you and Tim Jones were just talking about Mike Johnson. Where was Mike Johnson? How is he so busy that not he personally, but someone in his office couldn't have said, hey, this woman has missed how many votes, since July. What's going on? Where's she at? And maybe kind of dug into it themselves. Surely somebody in that area, a Republican representative or official in that area would have had some ongoing contact with her office. And it's amazing that it went on for as long as it did.
Yeah,
but
you're right. And it's interesting. I mean, there have been some relatively close votes over the past couple months. And when they're getting ready to whip the votes and make sure that they've got the count, they obviously know. I mean, have to have some idea if their members are actually going to be present or not. And the only thing I can surmise is maybe they knew she was having some health issues, but didn't really know the extent of it. But either way, it's just mind-boggling.
Oh yeah, it is. And people brought up a good point that now for the past 6 months or 7, whatever it is, that the people in that congressional district have had no representation.
Right.
And that's not fair. And like you just said, there's been some really crucial votes going on, and Republicans need all hands on deck. We need everybody that we can have, to cast a vote. So
well, and not only that, but you have to wonder how much in the months preceding her absence, how on top of her game and dialed in she really was. I mean, people don't just one day wake up and need to be in a memory care facility.
That was another thing that a point that someone brought up on Twitter. I don't know if this was one of her constituents or not, but somebody said, there, like you just said, that doesn't happen overnight. You know, how long have we seen Joe Biden deteriorate?
Right.
So somebody on Twitter said, somebody knew something or saw something back in 2022 when she was running for reelection.
Right. And unfortunately, we have a quite a few rather senior elected officials who don't seem to be willing to or able to let go of their power and toddle off into the sunset.
Exactly. It's just it seems like that once they get to Washington, that power is just so addictive that they've got their bony fingers gripping tight to it.
They sure do.
And it's something. But yeah, we definitely and on both sides.
Yeah.
We need some fresh blood. Some fresh
Definitely.
blood and some new ideas.
Well, and the good thing is, in the case of Kay Granger, you know, as of January 3rd, there is a replacement for her. He was elected in November, so there will be representation. But it's a little scary when you realize that you know, this can go on for as long as it did. Becky, we only have a couple minutes left, but I wanted to talk to you about something else you wrote on a few days ago. The title of your article is "Want to know whether your neighbor is an R or a D?" There's an app for that. There's an app that tells you how your neighbors vote?
Well, it's something that it was, I don't know if it was created or they found it, realtor.com, you know, it's a real estate website. And apparently how this works is that you can look at a particular area that any potential home buyers are interested in, and you can kind of find out, I believe they said through like election results, you know, I don't know that they can see how every single individual household votes, but through election results and just, you know, area wide, you know, things that happen in that area through the voting process. And they can tell someone who's looking at a potential area whether that area leans left or right. And they also said that for you would think that maybe Gen Zers were really interested in this, and but it was other people, you know, older people. It was actually millennials who were the most interested in finding out. Now, as someone who lives in a blue part of St. Louis County,
right?
You know, we kind of put up with it and we deal with it. But as I brought up in my piece, if you are somebody who's kind of a red dot in a blue area, don't you kind of consider that maybe, hey, here's an opportunity maybe to change some hearts and minds and have a chance to talk to people and tell them where you're coming from.
Well,
and
that's true.
Talk about what you believe.
That's a really good point. Yeah.
Yeah. And as someone who lives in North County,
right.
You know, there's events and festivals and things that we can go to talk to people, and
perfect opportunity to evangelize. Well, Becky, thank you so much for joining us today. I wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas. Tell folks real quick where they can find you and your work.
Well, you can find me at redstate.com, and I have a Substack page that called Gumshoe Politics that I've kind of put a little on hiatus for a little bit, and a little short podcast called In Your Face, because I really kind of felt like that I really want to devote more time to Red State.
Well, that's awesome. We appreciate
so blessed to be there.
All right. Well, Merry Christmas, Becky. We'll be talking to you soon.
Thank you, Susie. Merry Christmas.
Thanks, folks. Stick around. When we come back, we're going to celebrate Festivus, even though it was yesterday. You're listening to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Now, Merry Christmas. We'll dance in the kitchen while embers glow. We've got no
Hey, want to amaze your friends when they visit? They will be impressed when they see your custom-made drapes, blinds, or shutters. Michael Proctor will personally help you pick out the correct colors to truly showcase your home. Then he will actually design and personally install everything. No overhead markup. That's going to save you a lot of money on drapes, blinds, or shutters.
Call for an appointment at your home. Spell Proctor like doctor.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airways for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every week yet on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. What else do our listeners need to know, Doug?
Simply put, I focus on helping pre-retirees and retirees build, preserve, and protect retirement assets, and I've been helping my clients solve their insurance and financial needs for the past 33 years. I also strive to educate my clients on how to prepare for retirement, minimize the impact of market volatility on their assets, and deal with the challenges of increased longevity. Call me today at 844-676-SAFE. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Tim Jones here for AMF Electric, in business since 1965, offering a full line of industrial, commercial, residential, electrical, and system services. AMF is a merit shop. They work successfully for all owners who favor freedom of economic choice. Yes, even on other AFL trades jobs. At AMF Electric, they're unabashedly pro-American. Call them, 314-647-4066. Online, amfelectric.com. That's amfelectric.com.
Jewels on Hampton and St. Louis Hills is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches on site. Jewels on Hampton is a premier jeweler featuring Alvanza's jewel art designs with an exquisite selection of diamonds, semi-precious stone jewelry, and vintage watches. Their expert design team can restyle your jewelry to today's contemporary style. They also do jewelry and watch repair. Need extra cash? Jewels on Hampton is paying some of the highest prices on gold, silver, diamonds, semi-precious colored stones, coins, flatware, and fine watches. Bring in your collectibles and clocks and sports memorabilia and figurines too. Jewels on Hampton, 4506 Hampton, just 3 blocks south of Chippewa, and jewelsonhampton.com. Call them at 314-752-5000, 314-752-5000, and jewelsonhampton.com. Jewels on Hampton.
This hour of Mike Ferguson in the Morning brought to you by Window World. Simply the best for less. 314-993-1800 or visit windowworld.com. Mike Ferguson in the Morning. Get up, St. Louis. It's Mike Ferguson in the Morning. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
Well, tomorrow may be Christmas and today may be Christmas Eve, but yesterday was Festivus. For those who were not fans of Seinfeld and aren't familiar with Festivus, it's a made-up holiday, but it's a fun holiday nonetheless. It involves the feats of strength competition, which we are not going to be trying to do here in the studio today. You're in luck, Jerome. I'm not going to
embarrass
I'm not going to embarrass you, challenge you to an arm wrestle or anything. But it also involves the airing of grievances. And therefore, the one and only Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky has adopted it as the day each year where he releases his own report, his own Festivus report, airing grievances as to the out-of-control, ridiculous spending our federal government does.
Wow. Yeah, I can only imagine how high that number is.
It is extraordinarily high, and I'm going to just share just a little bit of it with you all. The report was released yesterday. I want to say it was something on the order of 40 pages. Might have been a little shorter than that. I might be mixing it up with a different report. I don't know anymore. They're all kind of running together in my head, but I do have some excerpts from it. My colleague Ward Clark wrote about it at Red State, and this is how Rand Paul starts it off in his report. This year, I am highlighting a whopping, and I'm not even going to try to say this number because I can't. It's over $1 trillion in government waste, including things like ice skating drag queens, a $12 million Las Vegas pickleball complex, $4,840,082 on Ukrainian influencers, and more. No matter how much money the government has wasted, politicians keep demanding even more. Here's some other ones that he highlights. Girls just want to have fun. Girls just want to have funds. The Department of State spent $3 million for girl-centered climate action in Brazil.
What?
What? Yeah. 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 Keep in mind, this is money that's being spent in a different country, $3 million, which is, not pocket change to you or me. It might be to some people, to, I guess, encourage girls to participate in climate activism.
What?
Yes. There's more, but wait, there's more. Goalposts and grandstanding. The Department of State spent $345,434 on football engagement to counter terrorism.
What?
Yes. This here, I'm going to read a little bit more about this just because it's so mind-blowing. In 2022, the U.S. Department of State spent $98,000 plus on a grant to counter recruitment and build resilience against terrorism and violent extremism for at-risk communities in Albania, primarily using the sport, football, as a means of engagement.
I mean, I don't even know how do you write a grant request for that?
The grant went to the Football for Peace Foundation, which is based out of London, England. Not only did the U.S. government spend nearly $100,000 on football, or according to the recipient's website, advancing sports diplomacy initiatives in another country, but the State Department also apparently believed funding this initiative would help stop violent extremism. Then, in 2024, the Department of State allotted $246,000 to the UK Football for Peace Foundation to promote peaceful football in Serbia and the Maldives.
They're just
Now,
wow.
I will say this. If there were data to back up the idea, and I understand the concept of bringing, sports and entertainment into arenas to give the community something positive to be involved in and draw their attention away, just like we do in urban areas here. I get that. But it seems like a very strange way for the State Department to be spending our tax dollars, if you ask me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, and to agree with your point there. In areas where there might be violence or youth ruffians that are going out there, giving them a more positive outlet's good. But terrorism is an entirely different beast. These are the cause. I mean, I cannot wrap my head around this.
If football cures terrorism, then I'm all for it, I guess. Here's one more real quick. Flocking together. DEI takes flight. The National Science Foundation spent $288,000 plus to ensure bird watching groups have safe spaces, aka affinity groups.
Safe spaces for bird doesn't bird watching just involve binoculars?
Yeah.
And
So then they've approved a grant of $288,000 to create affinity groups within ornithological societies, basically bird watching clubs, based on identity characteristics. Nearly $300,000 of your tax dollars are being used to sort bird watchers into groups based on who they are and how they identify themselves rather than what they love, which is watching birds.
so this isn't even like them getting attacked by birds or being
No,
carried
no.
away. This is just
No.
for identity politics.
So you have a shared interest, something in common, something that would bring people from different walks of life together, but we're going to separate you based on your demographics.
Nothing brings people together like segregation, right?
Oh my gosh, that needs to be needle pointed. Nothing brings people together like segregation. Jerome, you nailed it. So, folks, definitely there's reason to be excited about the prospect of Doge coming in and doing its job, because maybe they will help us cut out some of this ridiculous spending that we are doing.
Everybody that approved that's on the naughty list.
Absolutely, they are. Coal for you guys in your stocking. After the top of the hour, folks, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about some sort of serious stuff. We're going to talk about Matt Gaetz Gate and about the Subway Savage, unfortunately. But then we're also going to talk about some lighter stuff, too. So stick around. You're listening to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Everything woke turns to shit, okay?
Hi, I'm Jen Wallner.
And I'm Rodney Wallner with the Wallner Home Selling Team at Berkshire Hathaway.
Hey, Rodney, how do you sell your home for top dollar?
That's easy. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
What if I want a flexible commission rate?
Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
When's the best time to sell your home?
Right now. Call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
For all your real estate needs, call the Wallner Home Selling Team at 314-810-SOLD.
That's 314-810-SOLD.
Mike Ferguson here. Retirement should be a time you can relax. No more stress from work.
work, but there's one thing you can't forget about when retiring. That's your money. Do you have enough saved to fund your income for life and keep up with inflation? How will you claim your Social Security benefits? And what about long-term care? The ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel is here to help answer all of these questions. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9, right here on News Talk STL. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create an investment portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free retirement plan consultation, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com. Or call 636-695-2650, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Hi, Kirk Hilsinger here, and I'm the new chairman of the St. Louis Republican Central Committee. I invite you to our meetings that take place the first Thursday of every month at 3710 Hampton Avenue. You can stay connected with us to learn more about how you can get involved, make your voice heard, and contribute to our shared goals. Together, we can make a difference in the city of St. Louis and the state of Missouri. For more info, visit our new website at stl-gop.com. That's stl-gop.com.
Paid for by St. Louis City Republican PAC. Curtis Farber, Treasurer.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefontaine, KNVS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Well, the interruption didn't last long, 1 hour to be exact. American Airlines flights have resumed after all of them were grounded this morning because of a system-wide technical issue. The timing couldn't have been worse, with holiday travel at its peak this week. It's another quiet Christmas in the West Bank.
Celebrations in biblical town of Bethlehem, revered by Christians as Jesus' birthplace, are usually attended by thousands of people from around the world. But this year, Bethlehem prepares to mark its second Christmas under the shadow of the war in Gaza. There are almost no tourists. So Bethlehem's Christmas celebrations will be somber and muted. In deference to the ongoing war in Gaza, there'll be no giant Christmas tree in Manger Square, no raucous scout marching bands, no public lights twinkling, and very few public decorations or displays. I'm Charles Philadelphia.
It is being left to President Biden to decide whether a Japanese firm's proposed purchase of U.S. steel would endanger national security.
The Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States has failed to reach a consensus on the possible national security risks of a nearly $15 billion proposed acquisition of U.S. steel by Nippon Steel of Japan. Monday was the deadline for the committee to either approve the deal, recommend that President Joe Biden block it, or extend the review process. The White House says Biden has 15 days to reach a final decision, but he has previously said that he opposes the deal, saying that it's vital for U.S. Steel to remain an American steel company that is domestically owned and operated. President-elect Donald Trump opposes it as well. Donna Warder, Washington.
It's a holiday shortened trading session today on Wall Street. The market closing at 1 p.m. Eastern. Dow futures down 18 points. The NASDAQ futures are up 63 points. And S&P futures ahead 9. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Right now, with an important...
You just grin and bear it or bite the bullet when it comes to everyday pain? Don't. Try Relief Factor, a drug-free daily supplement that helps your body fight pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain, it helps reduce or even eliminate it. It's 100% drug-free. It's developed by doctors. In 3 weeks or less, you'll know whether it works for you like it works for me. Try Relief Factor for yourself. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF and save on your first order. That's 1-800-4 relief.
Sorry, ma'am, but you need to vacate this home.
Why, officer? I own this home free and clear. I lived here for 40 years.
Well, unfortunately, this paperwork says otherwise.
But I have nowhere else to go.
I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am.
This story is becoming all too common in the U.S. Scammers are preying on people with high equity or who own their homes free and clear of a mortgage. Only one company completely protects you. That's Equity Protect. Get your free risk report by texting the word home to 94878. Again, text the word home to 94878 to get your free risk report from Equity Protect.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Just Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Temperatures today will be in the mid-40s. We have cloud cover overhead And this light drizzle, mainly south of St. Louis, will see that rain, but an additional wave will bring us an opportunity for showers tonight, and some of that rain will continue through early on Christmas Day. Temperatures overnight only falling to the lower 40s. Christmas Day itself expected to reach a high near 46 degrees with cloud cover. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
This hour of News Talk STL brought to you by Senior Memorial. With the average funeral bill being over $9,000, are your loved ones prepared? Call 314-866-8886 or memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial Heritage Protection.
Hungry for the best steak you'll ever have? Head to the heart of Moscow Mills and discover Harry J's, a local landmark and family-owned steakhouse, serving up excellence since '98. From mouth-watering appetizers to decadent desserts, Harry J's has something for everyone. Enjoy our extensive bar selection while soaking in our friendly family atmosphere. Whether dine-in or carry-out, your meal is prepared to perfection. Make the drive to 300 Main Street and treat yourself to a taste of Moscow Mills' finest. Harry J's, more than a steakhouse. We're a tradition.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to
slow it down, get it going slower.
Izervay is proven to slow GA progression.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Izervay or avacincaptad pegol is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Paid for by Astellas Pharma.
Ready to soar beyond your limits? The U.S. Air Force and Space Force offer more than just a job. It's a launch pad for your future. With over 200 career paths, competitive pay, benefits, free education, 30 days paid vacation, and a chance to travel the globe, all while serving your country with pride. Your journey starts here. Call Jeremy Jefferson in St. Louis at 314-295-6834 or visit airforce.com and spaceforce.com today.
Tony Colombo here for the cleaning pros at Zero Res, the team we trust with keeping our home clean and healthy. And the folks at Zero Res know how important it is to you to have a clean, healthy home this holiday season. And that's why they have this great offer for you right now. Book a cleaning with Zero Res and mention the Colombo special, and you'll get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned starting at just $129. Plus, you can take $75 off an air duct cleaning. Again, just mention the Colombo special when you call 314-474-2020 or when you book online at ZeroResSTL.com.
Mike Ferguson.
We the people.
Gabe Pfeiffer.
It's not rocket science. Rocket science.
Get up, can't you hear the alarm?
Mike Ferguson in the morning on News Talk STL.
Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL. If you're listening to us on the radio now, hi, thank you. If you're watching us on the live streams, we appreciate it. But just remember, if you've got a phone, you've got a radio. You can listen to the show at any time you want. You can download the podcast. You can check us out there. You can check us out on Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, any number of ways you can follow along with the show. We appreciate you being here with us on this Christmas Eve.
And those that use the app are guaranteed to be on the nice list this year. So,
oh, that's a very good point, Santa. Take that tip, folks. Avail yourselves of it. So one of the things I wanted to talk about, well, I didn't really want to talk about it, but it's in the news and it needs to be talked about. Matt Gaetz, who I as a congressman, I really appreciated him in the hearings because he was merciless in his grilling of witnesses who needed to be grilled, and often entertaining and often made for good things, good articles to write up. So I appreciated that aspect of his personality. I appreciated the fact that, I know not everyone agrees with this, but I appreciated the fact that he was instrumental in the removal of Kevin McCarthy. I'll just say, based on some information that I know, I think in the long run that was a good thing. Even though Kevin McCarthy has his own strengths, but that in turn, of course, put Gates kind of in the crosshairs of some powerful people. And there was this ethics investigation going on, and it had been going on for a while regarding some of his behavior, not before he was in Congress, while he was in Congress. That's why they were investigating it. But there were allegations that there was drug use and perhaps the payment of funds to women for sexual favors. There were some pretty unsavory allegations made against him. Now, Gates has steadfastly denied some of the allegations. He's acknowledged that before, in his pre-marriage days, that he was a bit of a cad. But he denied that the payments that were made to women were in exchange for sexual favors, but rather insists that these were women that he was dating, and he was just being generous and giving them gifts and such. And okay. Um, in any event, he was not only investigated by the House Ethics Committee, but he was also investigated by Joe Biden's DOJ, which I'm quite certain has no love lost for Matt Gaetz, considering how we've seen him grill, for instance, Merrick Garland. And the DOJ ultimately declined to bring any charges against him. And one of the people levying some of these accusations is himself in jail for having made similar false allegations against other people. A couple of the witnesses who apparently have the information and have testified regarding the information may have some credibility issues. So I just want to be really fair to Matt Gaetz here. He acknowledges that he hasn't always been on his best behavior, but he does steadfastly deny, for instance, allegations of sex trafficking. He absolutely denies that he had sexual relations with an underage female. The allegation is that she was 17 at the time. He's steadfastly denied that, and that would have been qualified for statutory rape under the law of Florida. So these are some pretty serious, heavy allegations, and they've been rumored and been out there for a long time. But the House Ethics Committee report had not formally been released. And then Matt Gaetz got tapped as the Attorney General nominee for the incoming Trump administration, which was a surprise. Like he hadn't been part of the whisper campaign. Our own Eric Schmidt had been on the short list that we were pretty sure of. Our own Andrew Bailey had been on the short list. There were several people whose names had been bandied about with regard to that position. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, here comes Matt Gaetz, and it caused a big firestorm. And now, and now that there's talk about releasing this report. Gaetz stepped down from Congress. He resigned from the 118th Congress, even though he'd been reelected for the 119th Congress. He submitted his resignation letter almost immediately after being nominated for the role. And in theory, what that should have done was ended the Ethics Committee's jurisdiction over this investigation, because he was no longer in Congress, and therefore there was no need to take action with regard to whether he should stay in Congress. Now, that was a long way of getting to where we're going to go here. I don't believe that Matt Gaetz was naive enough to think that this investigation that's largely known was not going to become a centerpiece of any scrutiny he was going to come under as the nominee. That would be part of the Senate's, approval process. They would dig into that. So I don't know that it would have been realistic to expect to escape it either way. Nevertheless, the House Ethics Committee made the unusual move of voting to release the report, which they did formally release yesterday. This is not something that they regularly do. The last time they released a report on somebody who was no longer in Congress was in 2006.
Wow.
So this is politics at its not finest, at its ugliest, I guess. This is I'm sure some payback for Gaetz. He ruffled some feathers, and he's getting his due in return. The big knock on them doing this is because it was a House investigation, a congressional investigation. It wasn't set up like a court. So it wasn't a situation where the witness came in to testify and Gaetz or his representatives had an opportunity to cross-examine that person the way that you would in a court of law. It almost might have been better for him had he been accused of the actual crime and charged, because then he might have at least been able to defend himself. And if he's telling the truth, if he's right about this, maybe be exonerated and redeem himself in that way. He's not going to have that opportunity now. Now he's pushed back on this report. And I mean, there are some people that are willing to believe everything that's in it. My suspicion is that there may be some truth to some of it and not to all of it. And I do recognize that some of the people making the accusations are not the most reliable witnesses, but this is really critical. His friend, who I think it was at his house that some of this stuff was supposedly happened. The friend, through his attorney, is demanding that the committee issue a correction to its report that inaccurately summarizes his statements and testimony. Now, so this guy, Chris Dorworth, testified in conjunction with this investigation, and he's saying that their summary in the report of his testimony is wrong.
Oh.
Yeah. So there's 3 different areas that, and of course it's like small print, so I'm gonna have to lift it up to my eyes so I can see it. There's 3 different discrepancies that his attorney points out. One is that they say that Dorworth testified that he believed Matt Gaetz invited people to his home on the evening of the party in question. Steadfastly denies this. Says no, he never said he believed that. His gate logs don't even show Gaetz being there. This is a gated community. So no, he says no. I never ever said that. There's another statement that says Mr. Dorworth was deposed and confronted with cell phone records showing that he was, in fact, at his residence during the party. His attorney says, no, that's not accurate. He was not confronted with cell phone records. And this is basically, there was an assumption that was drawn by somebody who was doing the questioning, and that was made the record, but that wasn't Dorworth's testimony. That's what the person that was questioning him said. And then there's a third discrepancy that says the committee requested through counsel that Mr. Dorworth clarify his testimony regarding his whereabouts on the evening. His counsel did not respond, and the attorney lays out the specific times that the attorney made efforts to respond to the request. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if there's going to be a corrected report issued, but I think if you're going to go to the lengths of issuing a report like this, publicizing it when you know the person is no longer in Congress, you should make very certain that the information that you're reporting is accurate.
Absolutely. Again, the DOJ investigation was, I think, about a year long, and they declined to put any charges against him.
Right.
Now he's stepping down, and people are saying, well, he's just doing that to avoid any sort of backlash. And I'm a big Gaetz fan. But last time we talked, I said, if there's something that we need to know as people, we deserve to know it. And it does feel very retaliatory, on top of the fact of how many people currently sitting in Congress are not being investigated when there's definitely whistleblowers that have made mention of, well, how are these campaign funds going to these people? We don't know. Why is it only when Matt Gaetz is involved, a Trump pick, that now all of a sudden it's this huge uproar?
I've seen a lot of people calling for this, and I'm in that camp. I mean, people, every one of us is a human being, and we are failed people. We sin, we make mistakes, and some of those need a lot of extra grace to be gotten through. But if you're going to start shining a light on corruption and bad behavior by people who are our elected representatives and earning a salary based on, a government salary paid by the taxpayer dollars, then maybe we should do this as to anybody. Now, I'm going to include a caveat. You don't just want it to be about accusations, because anyone, let's look at Brett Kavanaugh. I mean, the accusation is broad. You can't just take it at face value and not look into it. But, if there's credible evidence of illegal or unethical behavior, then that needs to be brought forth. And so let's see, who's paying money out of the slush fund and that sort of thing. I don't know if we're going to see that kind of reform. I mean, that's not going to be where Doge is going to be focused, and it's not in the Congress critters' best interest to tell on themselves. But I think this shines a light on it. Maybe Matt Gaetz on the outside can really kind of push for that kind of change and reform.
Yeah, and I mean, not to make light of the situation, but if he was going to these sort of crazy parties and stuff, and yet still so able to participate in subcommittee hearings and take charge, it's almost like, well, is that really the worst thing that we could have as a leader? I'm just saying. But
we need to get our priorities in order for sure. Absolutely. Well, we're going to take a little break, and then we're going to come back and unfortunately talk about some other sort of not so great stuff, but stick around. You're listening to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson in the morning.
I'm the boss.
On News Talk STL.
You have a soul so dark, it is no more. and all at once depart, no destination.
Nate Lucas here for the Village Bar in the heart of Des Peres. Since 1948, the Village Bar has been the go-to destination for delicious food, cold drinks, and unbeatable atmosphere. Savor their famous wings, burgers, and onion rings, or grab a drink from their fully stocked bar. Catch all the big games and enjoy the company of their friendly staff. Plus, don't miss the 1879 Distillery, a one-of-a-kind experience right next door. The Village Bar offers the best value in town. Find the Village Bar on Facebook and come experience where history meets great times. You'll be glad you did.
Getting new flooring can be exciting, or it can be a hassle. To make sure you have a great experience, use Michael's Flooring, like I did. Hi, it's Susie Moore, and Michael's Flooring has become my go-to for quality, variety, and an all-around great experience. They've been locally owned and operated for more than 30 years. Carpet, hardwood, laminate, ceramic tile, natural stone, luxury vinyl, it doesn't matter. Michael's Flooring is ready to help. 3 locations to pick from: St. Peter's, Darting Prairie, and Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloor.com. That's igotfloor.com.
Hi, I'm Helene Tobler, culinary nutritionist at Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Here we do practical wellness. Dr. Randy and I have a common sense approach to healthcare. My passion is helping our members enjoy better nutrition because food is medicine. We approach problems with a lifestyle foundation and cutting-edge medical tool chest. At Body of Health, it's about being your healthiest you. If you want to experience healthcare the way it ought to be, schedule a discovery call today at bodyofhealth.com. That's bodyofhealth.com.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serving St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
Are you a St. Louis small business owner looking to boost your brand? Blue Ocean Media Group offers affordable video production that packs a punch. From social media content to branded promotional clips, we'll help you stand out in the digital crowd. Professional quality, small business prices. Let's tell your story together. Learn more at blueomg.com. That's blueomg.com. Blue Ocean Media. Big impact videos for small business budgets.
Tony Colombo here, reminding you to visit my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton before your next trip into the great outdoors. For decades, Bluff City Outdoors has covered all the needs for area fishermen, and they'll always have all the best bait, tackle, and gear for your next trip on the water. And now they cover all your bow hunting needs, including their state-of-the-art indoor archery range and techno hunt system, open every day for you to come shoot, or you can join a league. Follow Bluff City Outdoors on Facebook and learn more at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
News, analysis, opinion.
You know, they're literally taking the Constitution and putting it in a paper shredder.
News Talk STL.
Of a white Christmas, just like the ones I used to know.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, 99.1 HD3 and newstalkstl.com.
You could listen to this endlessly.
It is a good one.
It is a good one. We're not gonna have a white Christmas this year, but that's okay. I'll put up with the fact that it's like, almost 50 degrees. I don't mind it being a little bit mild on Christmas.
See, I felt like nature put like a practical joke on us because there's that one day we had almost like a whiteout blizzard.
Yeah.
And as I was driving from the other place that I work at back home, there were a bunch of cars like in ditches,
Oh, yeah.
crashing.
It was bad.
And then it like melted the very next day. I was just like, wow, one day of chaos.
Now I've one of my coworkers lives in Alaska. And they've had snow on the ground now for 6 weeks, and it'll be there through April. So
Wow.
I'll take what we've got, and I'll put up with not having a white Christmas, although it is awfully pretty when we have one. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's like 40 degrees, I think, in the 40s-ish. So
Yeah.
I'll take that over
I'll take
blistering
it.
sub-zero.
Yeah, absolutely. So I kind of previewed this, and I that's bad radio because I told you guys I was going to talk about something not very pleasant. But I'm trying to forewarn you because this is a story that is It's really disturbing, to be honest. In case you haven't heard, or maybe only heard a little bit of it, unfortunately, over the weekend, there was a woman who was set fire to and killed in the subway in New York City. And there's video of the incident, which, side note, I have a little grievance with, since we're airing grievances, with the autoplay feature on Twitter.
Mhm.
Because if I'm scrolling through my timeline, there's stuff that I literally know it's best for me not to see. Graphic images, video, that sort of thing. There's stuff that there's a line, because I know that it will be too traumatic for me, so I won't do it. But when you're scrolling through Twitter and something autoplays and it's of a person being burned alive, it's hard to avert your gaze quickly enough.
Yeah, and I know that there is a setting that you can set where all images and media would be blinked out, but people have to remember, in our line of work,
I have to know what's there.
Yeah, so we're subjected to stuff a lot more than most people would.
That's true. So it's a double-edged sword. But the bottom line is this woman, and she's not been identified yet that I know of.
She's 29. Yeah, that's recently, I think last night has been.
There were some reports identifying her that ended up being wrong, though, so I
Oh.
haven't seen if it's been confirmed. And it might have been in the meantime. I just haven't had a chance to look. But in any event, she was killed, and the man who did it was caught. I
Thankfully.
think the video shows him basically like sitting there watching it happen.
Quite literally.
Yeah. Well, lo and behold, big shock. This guy is an illegal immigrant. He's actually was in the country illegally back in 2018, tried to enter. I think he's from Guatemala. He tried to enter in 2018 and was apprehended and deported.
Like you should have been.
Like he should have been. Sometime between then and now, so it could have been still during the Trump administration or it could have been later. I don't know, but that hasn't been determined yet. He made his way back into the country, and he was living at one of the immigrant facilities. It's a Days Inn in New York that's been repurposed as an immigrant facility. I don't know a whole lot about his background. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that it's very unsavory and there's something extraordinarily wrong with this person. But we've seen story after story after story after story this year, just in this year, of people killed, harmed, by people who are here illegally. And that's not to say that people who are here legally don't commit crimes, sometimes heinous crimes. That happens. But then you're adding on to it an influx of people who aren't, they're not coming through the normal societal processes. They're coming in under the radar, so they're already, they're not being vetted the way we would normally in a society.
Yeah, and that's, I think, the greatest argument for this is that we already have criminals that are legal residents here, either born here or came here
Mhm.
legally. If you know that something's on fire, you don't just keep giving it fuel and fan the flames. You sit there and say, let's try to take care of this fire before we do anything else.
And that holds true on a federal level and on a state and local level, because we've seen failures all the way up and down. Clearly, the Biden administration has been a colossal fail when it comes to border security, and that there's no other interpretation than that it was deliberate. They made a conscious choice to basically leave the border, particularly the southern border, but even the northern border, largely open and allow a humongous influx of people, many of them military-aged men, to just enter the country and try to be absorbed. And once the southern state governors got wise to it and realized that there was not going to be any assistance from the federal government, they decided to go ahead and make it painful for the rest of the country. Good on them for doing that. They shipped a lot of them to New York. Eric Adams, some would say he's under indictment now because he spoke out against the Biden administration. Now, maybe he did something inappropriate too. I'm not 100% sure. But he was very quickly very critical of what was going on, and yet he's having, as the mayor of the largest city in the world, basically, to deal with an influx. Did I see that it was like 250,000 immigrants in New York?
Yeah, after they made that statement that they are not going to comply with the mass deportation,
Yeah.
there were many people that are illegals that were just flooding there, and they were like, "Yeah, come on in. It's New York. We don't care." And I think that's another great point too. Is the barbed wire thing? The southern
Yeah.
states, they were like, "We're going to put this barbed wire up just
Yep.
to even slow them," and the Biden administration
Wanted
ordered
to fight them.
Yeah, it was trying to make them take it down and
Mhm.
find them, and it's just how much more can you let people
Right.
know you hate this country?
So we're going to employ this policy that's bad for the country and bad for you specifically, for instance, Texas. And then when you try to ameliorate that, to mitigate against that and protect your own state citizens, we're going to fight you on that too.
Mhm.
And it's just not a good look. the bottom line is this is another example of a heinous crime committed by somebody who shouldn't have been here to begin with. This is why you shouldn't necessarily schedule tweets. New York Governor Kathy Hochul had a tweet that went out on Sunday, I think it was, like within an hour or two of this incident, saying how, we're doing this and this to improve the subway system in New York, and isn't it great? And da 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 da. It's like, that's the wrong time. That's definitely the wrong time. So you've got all these incidents. You've got the Daniel Penny, Jordan Neely situation happen on the subway. You've got all kinds of things happening in New York, in New York City proper. And for the most part, the Democratic government officials that should be addressing it are either pretending it's not happening or completely ineffective in their attempts to address it. And then you have these horrible things happening like this.
Yeah. And if you watch the video or even just see the screenshots, you can see that there are a couple of police officers that were there. There were a lot of bystanders just standing by recording it. And a lot of the outrage is, well, why didn't anybody do anything? Now there are some media outlets calling it the Daniel Penny effect, because what did he do? He tried to intervene and keep people safe after violent threats were made. And then what happened to him? He got put in jail. He was put on trial. There was a media storm around him. Who in their mind, the average person, wants to have to go through that because they want to be a good Samaritan?
Right. And I can understand the shock value too. I can understand being so shocked if you saw somebody, on fire, and maybe not knowing what to do. Now, somebody trained in the right mind would know to, try to tackle that person and put the flames out and try to protect them and save them. And no one made a move to do this. And I don't know what this woman's story is. I don't know why she was where she was. And, God rest her soul. Hopefully, once they identify her, they can, get some justice for her. But what a horrible, horrible thing, and what a horrible indictment of not only the failed immigration system that we've seen, particularly under the Biden administration, but the way that we deal with crime in our major cities. It's just, I don't know. It's frustrating. And we talked briefly about vision when we were talking to Tim Jones and the mayor of St. Louis. And I think that's one of the things that's sorely lacking in a lot of our leadership now is this positive, pro-human, pro-American vision. And if you use that as your guidepost, then your policies are going to follow. And, you might not get it all right. You're not going to be able to solve every problem. But what we're doing now isn't working.
And I would almost argue that states where this stuff is happening, because New York City is such a massive, city, I almost feel like how can these people be trusted to have any say at the federal level with their representatives and Congress, senators, whatever?
Right.
Why are they allowed to participate in the national conversation when at home they have all these issues that they just are not doing anything meaningful?
Take care of your own home first, right? Yeah. We need more of that for sure. Folks, when we come back, we are going to talk with my Red State colleague, Bonchie, see what he has to say about those drones. Remember the drones? We haven't heard about them in the past couple of days, but we'll see what he has to say about that and some other things here on the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show on News Talk STL.
Of a white Christmas.
From the Michael's Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
Leah Hill with your first alert forecast. Temperatures today will be in the mid-40s. We have cloud cover overhead and this light drizzle, mainly south of St. Louis. We'll see that rain, but an additional wave will bring us an opportunity for showers tonight, and some of that rain will continue through early on Christmas Day. Temperatures overnight only falling to the lower 40s. Christmas Day itself expected to reach a high near 46 degrees with cloud cover. That's your first alert forecast. I'm meteorologist Leah Hill.
Fox News commentary.
A New Zealand airport put a time limit on goodbye hugs. I'm Tommy Laren. More next.
Why pay more for prescriptions? Stop overpaying and start saving with SingleCare. It's easy. Find your prescription on singlecare.com, show the coupon at the pharmacy, and start saving. SingleCare works at pharmacies nationwide and is completely free to use, whether you have insurance or not. So the next time you fill a prescription, check SingleCare to make sure you're getting the best price. Take control of your prescription costs. Go to singlecare.com or download the free app today.
airport drop-off zone can be a nightmare, but the Dunedin Airport in New Zealand has a time-saving solution. Limit goodbye hugs. They've implemented a 3-minute time limit on goodbye hugs and fond farewells in the airport's drop-off lane in an effort to keep traffic flowing. And in case travelers forget their send-off time limit, the airport has posted signs reminding them of their cuddle cap. Airport officials recommend taking the longer goodbyes to the airport parking lot instead. And while it is baffling to me how an airport that serves a city of roughly 135,000 people on New Zealand's South Island could have such a backup of lingering hugs, I'm still for it because there's nothing more annoying than airport drop-off traffic. And let's get real, 3 minutes is more than enough time to hug it out and say your goodbyes. And while this particular airport will not deploy a hug police, I would still find that less egregious than the COVID-era mask police. I'm Tommy Lahren, and you can watch my show, Tommy Lahren is Fearless, at Outkick.com.
Hey, it's Vic Porcelli, and my favorite sandwich from Capriati's is the Wagyu beef French dip. So good. It's the au jus that makes it. And the Wagyu beef is pretty good, too. I love Capriati's, and you will, too.
On Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Are you sitting on hidden treasure? Manchester Coin and Jewelry wants to turn your valuables into cash. We're Missouri's premier gold buyers and jewelry specialists with years of expertise. We offer top dollar for your coins, antiques, precious metals, and collectibles. From gold and silver to clocks and jewelry, we buy it all. Don't let your treasures collect dust. Let Manchester Coin and Jewelry give you the best value. Visit online at buyingvaluables.net or come see him today at 141 in Manchester and tell him Newstalk STL sent you.
Larry Connors here. I'm heading to southern Italy on a tour of the most beautiful coastline in the world, the Amalfi Coast. 11 magical days in luxury with professionals from Conservative Tours. The cost, $54.88. That includes airfare from St. Louis. Call 888-733-9494 or go to conservativetours.com. Let's go to Italy this spring. conservativetours.com.
Southern Armory, your hometown gun store. Come and be more than just a customer. Southern Armory, we carry the best guns, holsters, knives, magazines, ammunition, and even food storage. Special orders are welcome. Southern Armory, 1 mile east of 270 and 44, 9901 Watson Road, and southernarmory.com. That's southernarmory.com.
Whether you're purchasing your first firearm or adding to your collection at Southern Armory, you're more than a customer, you're part of the family. Follow Southern Armory on Facebook or at southernarmory.com.
With the average funeral bill over $9,000, are your loved ones prepared? Speak with Benjamin Schaefer at Senior Memorial. Contact Benjamin at memorialplans.com. Memorialplans.com. Senior Memorial, everlasting protection.
No big old corporate lib AM station telling us what to say here.
Conservative talk for St. Louis. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1,
and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
I'll have a blue Christmas without you. I'll be so blue just thinking about you.
We give you news, analysis, opinion, and more. Only on News Talk STL.
That's another one I could just listen to endlessly. Welcome back, folks. You're listening to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. Susie Moore filling in for Mike today with producer Jerome here helping me. And we are joined now by Bonchie. Merry Christmas, Bonchie.
Hey, how you doing, Susie?
Good. You know what? This is fortuitous that I'm having you on today because one of the breaking stories this morning is about American Airlines temporarily grounding all of its flights due to a quote unquote technical issue, which maybe has been resolved in the interim, but you may have a little bit of expertise that might shed some light on what could have gone wrong there.
I saw the report this morning. I'm not sure exactly the details. This happened with Southwest a couple of years ago.
It did. Mm-hmm.
And stranded people everywhere. So these systems are old. They're also super interconnected. It's not like you can just flip a switch and everything's fixed. If you've got flights, thousands of flights all over the world, and there's safety between all of them, they have to work together, and flight plans and releases and dispatch and all this stuff. So there's a lot of things that could go wrong. So hopefully they get fixed soon.
Yeah, it sounds like they may be back up and running. Hopefully, I mean, I can't imagine traveling on Christmas Eve. That's got to be one of the most stressful, hectic times to do so, and more definitely if you're running into delays like this.
Absolutely, and I'm staying home this year, so I
Smart.
won't have to,
There you go.
I won't have to experience the airport
The
rush.
joy of that. Listen, but one of the things I definitely wanted to talk with you about, given your aviation familiarity, is the drones, which we suddenly haven't heard a whole lot about for the past couple of days, even though they were like front and center for about 2 weeks with all manner of speculation as to what it was people were seeing, whether it was just a mistaking regular planes, which I think in a lot of instances it was. But there was this, this glut of reports of drone sightings, particularly over New Jersey, but elsewhere in the United States and even in other areas of the world. What's your take on what's been going on with that?
That was such a weird story, and I'm not sure exactly what people were seeing in each specific scenario. I know I
Right.
did see some videos that were clearly airliners
Mhm.
at higher altitudes, and people just didn't realize it.
Yeah.
But then there were other videos where it did look like drones, and the problem is that you can legally fly a drone outside of certain airspaces, which Class C, Class B airspace you can't fly a drone in. But a lot of people, if you're underneath a Class B shelf, for instance, which is, if you look at airspace, it's like a wedding cake, an
Yeah,
upside down
sure.
wedding cake, and it builds itself up. So if you're underneath one of those shelves, you can legally fly it if it's line of sight and you can see the drone. So it could be anybody, and so it's really difficult. And I know that everything kind of becomes partisan politics, but also understand the idea that the U.S. government may not be able to tell who's who's flying a drone line of sight on the ground at any given moment.
Sure.
So but it does highlight the national security concerns of how easy it would be to do things with drones
Yeah.
and not be able to police them. And so there's definitely, I think, some legitimate fear about that, and what this specific situation was, and what every single thing that somebody filmed was, I don't know. But I mean, I would think there has to be some thought going forward about what happens if a major American adversary does take advantage of this. How do we
Sure.
deal with it? Because you can't just, people are like, shoot them down. Well, you can't really shoot down a couple of, or what is a drone? Maybe a foot or two, a smaller drone.
Well, I know some of
You
them were
can't just,
supposedly larger, but yeah, you're right.
yeah. Yeah, there are definitely things that are being developed technologically with drone technology that are going to be very difficult to combat, and I
Mhm.
think people are right to be concerned about it.
Well, and I wonder if this wasn't, even if it wasn't intended as a stress test, it almost served as a stress test for the benefit of
Yeah,
our adversaries, because whether it's even if it's not, even if they're not, the source isn't a foreign adversary now this gives them a better hint at how the US government is going to respond. And unfortunately, our government has so kind of gutted the level of trust people have in it because of the so many, how much we have been lied to. Now, if you got Sabrina Singh up at the podium telling you, no, it's not this, it is that, do you believe her or not? It's really hard to know.
and that's the big problem in my view, is that the past 4 years specifically have just so degraded trust in the U.S. government, in every institution, in every agency, and rightfully so.
Mhm.
There's been so much corruption. There's been so much weaponization. There's been so many times that it's been proven that the Biden administration and its various agencies have lied to people for their own gains. Even going back to Anthony Fauci and COVID in that first year of Biden,
Right.
where he was, testifying before Congress and saying things that were clearly untrue. And so I think that's built a situation where people are not going to trust the government when they come out and they say, oh, these are nothing. These aren't drones. This is not a foreign adversary. Yada, yada, yada. Like, nobody's going to believe them. And that's what happens when you spend years abusing government power
Mhm.
at the cost of normal people.
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right about that. We're basically seeing the consequences of that bad approach to governance, and it's gonna cost us all, I think. Along those lines, obviously, we just had an election that had some pretty not stunning results. I mean, I think we were all kind of hopefully optimistic that it would turn out the way that it did, but it's of course leaving the Democratic Party kind of licking its wounds and theoretically doing some soul searching. You had a piece up yesterday titled "The Democrat Postmortem Begin." Mortem if I can talk, it would help. Postmortems begin, and 3 focus groups leave party leaders in shambles. What was that? What was going on with that?
So there was a Democratic pollster working for, I don't know if they were working for the DNC or some other Democrat Party nonprofit, but they held 3 different focus groups, and they were specifically, they weren't random Democrats. They were specifically people that voted for Joe Biden in 2020, but switched their vote to Donald Trump in 2024. And then the last group included some people who just didn't vote at all,
Okay.
who voted for Biden and then didn't vote at all. And the results were basically everything that Republicans, the conservative commentariat, I mean, that we've all been saying for years, which is that the Democratic Party has gone way too far left to appease radicals who don't matter anyway and are going to vote for them anyway. And they've ended up alienating and isolating the middle of the country.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean geographically, I mean politically.
Right.
And so a big thing that somebody mentioned in the article, if you read the Politico, there was a Politico piece that basically got this information.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't publicly available. Somebody sourced it to them. And one of the quotes they had from the information of the people in the focus groups was about the trans issue, which has become a bigger and bigger thing over the last several years, where normal people feel like this is crazy. Why are we, why are we, having boys compete with girls in
Mm-hmm.
high school play? It doesn't make any sense. Why are we mixing locker? Why do we need to do this? You keep telling me this is a tiny portion of the population that's essentially irrelevant. Like that's Jen Psaki's argument on MSNBC.
Right.
That why do you even care about this? It's not a big deal. Well, if it's not a big deal, why normal Americans hear that and they say, well, why do we need to completely rearrange our systems and our lives for that? There was a crazy story this morning that I saw where out in California, there was a man who sexually assaulted, raped multiple women in a women's prison, because in California, you can simply say I'm transgender and they have to transfer you.
Right.
It's like a Transgender Dignity Act is what it's called. And so,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is the kind of stuff that people see and it just blows their mind. They don't understand it. And I think that's what Democrats are dealing with. And that's just one issue. I mean, there are a dozen things that Kamala Harris, espoused from her 2019 campaign or didn't disavow in her 2024 campaign, where it's just so disconnected from normal American thought processes and what people view as the right way to handle things. From decriminalizing illegal immigration and her views on healthcare and universal healthcare and nationalization. Like there are all of these different things that the Democrats are dealing with, where they can't back away from them now. And that's their big problem. If they back away, they're going to have another, pro-Hamas supporter situation where everything just gets burned down out of spite. And
right.
That's one specific aspect, an example of saying the base of the Democratic Party simply doesn't care about winning. They just want to destroy everything if they don't get their way. That's going to happen on an even larger scale, depending on what issues they decide to kind of try to pull back from. And so I'm not sure they can. And so they painted themselves into a corner.
You're right.
They've created this Frankenstein, and this Frankenstein now they are beholden to it. And so I'm not sure where they go from here. I'm sure they'll figure something out to remain competitive, because political parties always do. But they're definitely in a hole.
Yep. That's a very good point. And we've got about a minute left here, but real quick, I want to touch on that, the pulling back from it, because you wrote on this the other day too. For some reasons that isn't clear to me, the Biden administration has decided to pull back on the Title IX rule that basically like prohibited banning transgender usage of facilities and sports. So something made them pull back on that for some reason.
I think, and I mean, my view on that was, I think they are worried that it's not going to happen anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So why fight it? And I think that is a sign that there is some sheepishness going on the Democratic side now about some of these issues where they want to kind of pull back. But if they do, and it becomes a real public fight, I think that their base is going to revolt, and then it's going to be a huge issue for them going forward in elections.
That's
so
I
don't envy their position at all.
Yeah, that's a good point. Well, Bonchie, real quick, tell folks where they can find you and your work.
Well, redstate.com, always multiple times a day. I'm usually writing there. And then at Bonchie Red State on X, I'm posting there all day as well. So you can find me there.
Fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us today. Merry Christmas to you and yours.
You too. Merry Christmas.
Thanks. All right, folks, stick around. We've got one more segment to talk about, and we're going to talk about Christmas, of course. So stick around. You're listening to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show here on News Talk STL 1019 94.1.
On a green Christmas tree won't be the same, dear, if you're not here with me. When those blues.
News Talk STL is proud to have Doug Voss of Safe Money Radio as part of our lineup each week. Doug has been a staple on the St. Louis radio airwaves for many years as one of the leading financial experts in the area. You can now hear Doug and Safe Money Radio 3 times every weekend on News Talk STL. But in case you miss anything, you can check it all out at DougVossSafeMoneyRadio.com. You could also reach Doug at 844-6766. That's 844-676-7233.
Doug Voss is a registered representative. Securities offered through DHL Securities, LLLP. Member FINRA and SIPC.
Merry Christmas. I'm Jasmine. The birth of my baby Jacoby was completely unexpected. I had nothing, no crib, no onesies, nothing. But when I had her, my cousin said, hey, let's go to Thrive. They welcomed me with open arms and helped me in every way that I needed and then in ways that I didn't even realize I needed. I joined Thrive's Parent University where I was prepared for motherhood over the next year. I learned how to build a resume and was empowered to go back to school. Thrive became a priceless support system to my life, and now I have a thriving baby girl. Since then, I've had multiple friends in crisis pregnancy situations who were thinking about abortion. And because of my story, I have been able to point them to Thrive where I was empowered to be a mom. And now, because of partners like you, I will be celebrating the holidays with my baby girl. You can go to thrivealivestl.org right now to see your $33 gift double match to trigger the rescue of a child. That's thrivealivestl.org. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
I've got a way for you to really dress up your home, and only one guy I'd trust to do it. Michael Proctor, like doctor. Michael will personally examine which drapes, blinds, or shutters will complement your home. He doesn't just measure, he designs, and to make sure it's done right, he will install them. All this saves you money on custom-made drapes, shades, and shutters. Proctor, spelled like doctor. ProctorDrapery.com. ProctorDrapery.com.
Hey O'Fallon, it's Lauren from Dirty Dan's Pizza and Wings, your women-owned, locally operated slice of heaven. We're serving up the best pizza and wings in town, made with the freshest ingredients and a whole lot of love. Check out our mouth-watering menu and daily specials. Dine in or carry out, the choice is yours. Join our loyalty program at dirty-dans.com for extra perks and mention News Talk STL for $5 off purchases $25 or more weekdays from 11 to 3. Dirty Dan's Pizza and Wings, where every bite is a local delight.
Tim Jones here with Eric from Newstetter's Fine Jewelers. Eric, we often talk about the Newstetter's difference that folks feel right when they walk into the front door of the store.
Newstetter's Fine Jewelry is truly where honesty and integrity meet. We're all about quality at a fair price. Our goal is to guarantee that the gift you give will be loved for a lifetime. Come in and meet our professional staff that will put your needs above all else.
Experience that fantastic Newstetter's difference today at wowdiamonds.com. Newstetter's Fine Jewelers, wowdiamonds.com.
Even we don't know what he's going to do next.
The Second Amendment, by the way, Mayor Jones, is in the Constitution.
Vic Porcelli.
Yes, we do have a love affair with the Constitution. You don't like it? Fight me.
Live and local, weekday mornings at 9
on News Talk STL.
Mike Ferguson in the morning. Watch us on our live stream using Rumble, Facebook, and Twitter.
Welcome back to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. Susie Moore filling in for Mike today on this Christmas Eve. And I wanted to spend the last few minutes with you all, which we appreciate you tuning in and listening to us, just talking about Christmas. And Jerome, I'm gonna put you on the spot.
Oh.
Favorite Christmas cookie?
I do like snickerdoodles, but
those are good.
There's a tradition when my grandmother was alive and I was young where we'd make reindeer cookies using like Red Hots for like a nose and chocolate chips and all that stuff. We'd hand them out to the neighborhoods. I didn't think they tasted very well, but those are still my favorites.
Oh yeah, that's got a sentimental value to it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I am not a baker. I can count on one hand the number of times I've actually baked something. And I'm not a Christmas cookie baker, but for some reason this year, I just had the urge, and I tweeted about it the other day. I was like, I don't know why, but for some reason, I really feel like baking Christmas cookies. And Gabe responded, and he said, "It's because you're watching Hallmark." And he was absolutely right. He nailed it. I'm like, oh, there might be something to that. So I did. I searched for a recipe for one of my favorites. Basically the little snowballs. So they're like the little round ones that are like dipped in powdered sugar. It's
Oh,
like little
yeah.
pecan. And I found a great recipe for it. I managed to put them together. They turned out pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with that. So I'll be bringing them tonight to the family gathering and tomorrow too. So I was proud of that. Okay, favorite Christmas TV special.
See, I never really had the Christmas spirit growing up. So the only
Hmm.
ones I can really think of are like the Charlie Brown.
Yeah. Well, that's a classic.
I always enjoyed watching The Grinch. Yes, the live action one that everybody hates, but I really
Yeah.
just, I don't know. There's something as a kid rewatching that
Partial
every
to the
year.
cartoon, but I get it. I get it. I think Rudolph would have to be my favorite.
That's a good one.
That was, really kind of like the pinnacle of that stop motion, a medium approach to things, and they did such a good job with the story there, and the Island of Misfit Toys, always kind of tugs at your heart. And I
You're
don't know.
unlocking some core memories in me right now.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the whole idea. All right, favorite Christmas song.
Probably. So it's a metal song by a group called King Diamond, and it's called "No Presents for Christmas."
Oh,
And the entire song, it's this very like hair metal, power metal-y kind of ballad song. But it's literally just Santa's not happy, so nobody gets any presents this year. Yeah.
wow, interesting. That's a good one.
What about
That's
you?
a good. You know what? I think my very favorite is "Oh Holy Night."
Oh, that's a
I
good
think
one.
when you hear like Josh Groban or Celine Dion, really just, I wish I could sing like that. I mean, it's like when they're like fall on your knees. I mean, you feel that, and that to me really, really brings home what Christmas actually is. Frosty the Snowman's fun, Jingle Bells is fun. All of those little jingles are fun, but really, when you think about what it's really about, that song I think really captures it.
What about you, Larry?
Oh, well, since you invited me, a Holy Night, definitely. I have a
Yes.
story coming up
Oh,
on the
good.
origin of Holy Night as told by Walter Cronkite in the next couple of
Oh,
hours.
I'll be listening to
Yeah, you
that.
definitely want to hear that. And my favorite song would be that. But another one I like for fun is Santa Baby.
Oh, yeah. Hurry down
It's got
the
a lot of
chimney
sexual
tonight.
innuendo there.
It does. It does. It's playful.
Yeah, it is
Yeah.
playful. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a fun one. What is like one of your favorite Christmas traditions?
So I did not get to grow up with it, but Elf on the Shelf, my friends, I started
Yes.
going over to their house more, and I was just confused. I'm like, what's with this moving
The elf.
decoration? And it's like, oh, well, you find it, then you have to hide it. And they would just find the most creative. Like the one year they did like a
Mhm.
Mission Impossible. It was just like looked like it was repelling from the ceiling. They went all out with it. So I would have to say that's one of my favorites.
People definitely get creative with Elf on the Shelf, and I was always terrible because I'd forget to move it until like the last second, and I was trying to be sneaky and not wake my daughter up in the process. Never was very good at that. What about you, Larry? Favorite Christmas tradition?
You know, one thing, let me share real quick. Princess Di,
Mhm.
it's out in, I started to mention it today, but I'll pass. So basically, when she first got married and they had their annual Christmas thing,
Mhm.
she went in and bought nice, expensive gifts to give to the family when they all gathered, cashmere sweaters and so forth. And they were all laughing at her because their idea was to give something. She got a toilet paper holder. They were all giving gag gifts, but nobody let her in on that thing.
Mhm.
My favorite was always coming home after Dad drove us around to look at the Christmas tree lights. And I'd ask Mom to sit right there and watch for Santa while we're gone. And we'd come in, the Christmas is full, trees, package. Mom's in the back somewhere. Mom, well, I had to go to the back. All you had to do was sit here and wait for Santa. Come here.
Yep. Not paying attention to what you were told to do, even when you're supposed to be being good.
Right.
So you didn't end up on the naughty list. Yeah. Well, that's kind of hard. I think my favorite Christmas tradition, maybe aside from doing like a Christmas Eve service, which I'm hoping to do tonight, but is getting the tree set up and then lit up and then turning out the lights and just sitting and basking in the glow of the Christmas tree.
Love that.
To me, that is the most peaceful Zen, whether I've got Hallmark on or not. The most peaceful Zen way to just kind of get in the Christmas mood. So
Beautiful.
I hope all of you listening and watching are in the Christmas mood yourself or Happy Hanukkah. We're getting ready to celebrate that as well. The holiday spirit, if you will. I appreciate you all tuning in today to listen to the Mike Ferguson in the Morning Show. I will be back with you a couple days next week. But in the meantime, I wish you all a very, very Merry Christmas.
Looking for top quality tactical gear and expert advice? Look no further than Discount Tactical, your one-stop shop for all things firearms and self-defense. Located in the heart of Warrenton, we've been serving the community for 3 years with our friendly, professional, and knowledgeable staff. From custom AR builds and silencers to the largest selection of parts, we've got you covered. Self-defense weapons, SBRs, knives, ammo, custom holsters, weapon lights, optics, and body armor. Discount Tactical. Online at discounttacticalarmory.com or stop